My sister called me Mom's driver at our mother's 80th birthday lunch, then announced she was taking Mom home before the cake was cut. She had packed June's blue suitcase and told me to hand over my front door code by 6 o'clock. For 4 years, Mom had lived in my house, and I had driven her to every appointment, church supper, and grocery run. Denise said I was planning to leave without warning, and Mom wouldn't look at me. I carried the suitcase into the hallway, opened it, and saw 7 unopened cards in my handwriting beside a list of things I had supposedly said. Hey everyone, welcome to today's story. Before we begin, take a second to like the video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I always enjoy seeing how far these stories travel. Quick note, this story includes fictional elements for storytelling purposes, but the message behind it is what truly matters. Now, let's see what Raymond discovered. Denise was standing beside the long table in the cedar room at Millstone Grill, one hand resting on the back of our mother's chair, when she nodded toward me and said, "And this is Raymond, Mom's driver." 2 church friends gave uncertain smiles. Mom stared at the napkin in her lap. Denise went on before I could answer. "He's been useful, but Mom's coming home with Carl and me tonight." She said useful like a label. That way she won't be left scrambling when Raymond takes off. I set the cake box on the empty end of the table. "Takes off where? We'll discuss it after lunch. You're discussing it now." Carl, Denise's husband, looked down at his plate. Mom lifted her eyes for a second, her face careful in a way I had never seen around her own children. "Raymond," she said, "don't make today unpleasant." "I'm not trying to." Denise reached into her purse and took out a small yellow sticky note. "Write the front door code on this. Carl will pick up the rest of Mom's things before 6. "The rest?" She pointed toward the hallway outside the room. Mom's blue suitcase stood beside the coat rack. I knew that suitcase by the black tape around one wheel. It had been in the closet across from my bedroom that morning, and Denise had not asked me for it. "Who packed that?" I said. "I did," Denise answered. "Mom told me what she needed." Mom's hands tightened around the napkin. "Just for a while," she said. I picked up the suitcase and carried it into the short hallway between the cedar room and the restrooms. Denise followed, her heels clipping hard against the tile. "Put that down. You were in my house." "Mom let me in." "With what?" "Her code." Mom had no separate code. Denise was using the emergency number I had given her 2 years earlier. I laid the suitcase across a wooden bench and pulled the zipper. On top of Mom's pale green cardigan sat 7 postcards held together by a rubber band. Each one had my handwriting on it. Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, a roadside orchard near Sevierville. I had mailed one every day during my only week away in almost 3 years. Denise had kept Mom while I traveled with Beth and my grandson. Whenever I called, Denise said Mom was asleep, out, or too tired to talk. Under the cards lay a page torn from one of Mom's small spiral pads. Her handwriting crossed it in short, shaky lines. "Raymond said he needs his life back. House may be sold before winter. Beth wants him closer to her. Don't argue. Be ready." I read it twice. Denise reached for the page, but I folded my hand over it. "Where did these cards come from?" "The mail." "Why didn't she get them?" "They came late. All 7? "Raymond, lower your voice." Pans knocked against a sink beyond the wall. I checked the postmarks. The first card had arrived at Denise's house 6 days before I came home. The last had arrived the day before. "You kept them." I put them aside. "Why?" She crossed her arms. "Because every one of them said some version of how free you felt." I turned the top card over. I had written that the mountain air felt good and that I wished Mom could have seen the view from Klingman's Dome. I had also written that I bought her apple butter and would be home Friday before supper. That isn't what this says. Maybe not to you. "Did you tell her I was selling my house?" Denise's jaw shifted. "Mom's been worried for months." "That wasn't my question." "You complain. Everybody complains. You said you never get to leave town." "I said it once, after I missed Beth's birthday dinner because Mom had bronchitis." Denise looked past me toward the cedar room. "You shouldn't say things like that in front of an 80-year-old woman who depends on you." I had no clean answer to that. I had said it. Not to Mom, but within earshot, while I was scraping burned oatmeal out of a pot after 3 hours at urgent care. I had regretted the words as soon as they came out. Denise had heard them and stored them. "You turned one bad sentence into a moving plan," I said. I gave her an option. "By hiding my mail?" Denise reached for the suitcase handle. "Bring it back to the table." I held on. Mom wrote this list. Yes, because you told her these things? Because she needed to prepare herself for something that isn't happening. Denise gave me a flat look. You haven't told her that. I didn't know she'd been told the opposite. You've never sat down and promised her she can stay forever. That landed harder than I wanted it to. Not because Denise was right about the rest, but because she had found the one sentence I had never spoken. Mom had moved in after a burst pipe ruined her apartment. 6 months became 4 years. I cleared the front bedroom, installed a grab bar, and arranged my mornings around her appointments. But I had never said forever. I had not thought I needed to. That does not excuse this, I said. No, Denise replied. It explains why she believed me. She took the suitcase, and for half a second we stood with one hand each on the handle. I let go. I was not going to tug my mother's clothes through a restaurant hallway like two children fighting over a wagon. When we returned to the cedar room, everyone had gone quiet. Mom's church friends studied the framed landscape prints on the wall. Beth, my daughter, had arrived while we were out and was standing near the cake with her purse still on her shoulder. She looked from me to Denise. What's happening? Your grandmother is staying with us, Denise said. Raymond needs a break. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Mom pushed her chair back. Please stop talking about me like I'm in another room. That silenced all three of us. She placed both palms on the table and stood slowly. She was 5'2" in the shoes she wore to church, with silver hair cut close around her ears and a pale lavender blouse she had ironed herself that morning. She used a cane outside and a hearing aid in one ear, but she still balanced her checkbook, made the grocery list, and beat me at gin rummy. Mom, I said, do you want to go with Denise? She looked at the suitcase and then at the cake box. I want a few days where I don't feel like somebody's problem. You are not my problem. You sigh before every appointment. I almost denied it. Then I remembered the Tuesday before my trip, when the cardiology office had changed her appointment for the third time and I had leaned against the refrigerator with my eyes closed. Sometimes I'm tired, I said. That isn't the same thing. It feels the same when you're the reason. Denise slipped her arm through Mom's. We don't have to do this here. I watched Mom allow it. I could have read the page aloud and forced Denise to answer in front of 12 people. Part of me wanted to. Then I saw the strain around Mom's mouth. No, I said. We don't. I tucked the 7 postcards into the inside pocket of my jacket and placed the handwritten list in my wallet. But I'm not giving you the code. Denise's eyes narrowed. Carl needs to collect her things. Mom can decide what else she wants. I'll bring it. You don't get to control that. Neither do you. Mom closed her eyes briefly. Beth stepped beside her and touched her elbow. Grandma, do you want to eat first? I've lost my appetite. The cake stayed in its box. 8 candles rolled loose in the paper bag when I picked it up. Denise took the suitcase. Carl took Mom's coat. Mom took Beth's arm instead of either of ours and walked through the restaurant while the women from church murmured their goodbyes. Outside, the parking lot was bright enough to make me squint. Denise opened the passenger door of her gray SUV. I moved toward Mom with the bakery box still under my arm. Your blood pressure pills are in the bathroom cabinet, I said. And the charger for your hearing aid is beside your bed. Denise answered for her. I packed everything. The charger wasn't in the suitcase. I'll buy another one. Mom looked at me. Bring the green pouch. I will. And my blue sweater, not the navy one. I know which one. She nodded, then stopped with one hand on the doorframe. Were you going to sell the house? No. Were you going to Arizona with Beth? Beth made a startled sound behind us. Arizona? I said no. I haven't planned any move. Mom's eyes went to Denise. Denise was arranging the suitcase in the back with her face turned away. Then why did she know you wanted your life back? Mom asked. Because she heard me say something ugly on a bad night and decided it meant more than it did. Denise shut the rear hatch harder than necessary. Get in, Mom, I said. I mailed you 7 cards. Mom's face changed. What cards? Denise came around the vehicle. This is not the place. They were in your suitcase. I took the top postcard from my pocket and held it out. Mom read the address, then turned it over. Her lips moved over the first line. She did not finish. Denise, she said, you told me he didn't write. I told you nothing came while it mattered. That's not the same. Mom, you were crying every night. Those cards would have confused you. They were mine. Denise opened the passenger door wider. We can talk at home. Mom looked at me again. There was hurt there, but not the simple kind I wanted. She was hurt by Denise, yes. She was also still carrying the weeks when she had believed I might leave. A lie can be removed in one sentence. The place it occupied does not always close up that quickly. I need a few days, she said. All right. The word came out rough. Call me whenever you want. Denise helped her into the seat. I handed Mom the postcard and kept the other 6. She held it on her lap as the SUV backed away. Beth, until the vehicle turned onto the road. Then she said, Dad, what did Aunt Denise tell her? Enough. Are you selling the house? No. Are you tired of Grandma living with you? I looked at my daughter. Beth was 41 and had the same habit her mother used to have of asking a hard question without softening it first. My wife, Carol, had been gone 9 years. Beth had learned young that I answered practical questions better than emotional ones. I get tired, I said. That isn't an answer. I don't want her gone. Does she know that? I looked down at the cake box. Apparently not. Beth took the box from me. Let's get her medicine. We drove separately to my house because she had to leave for work after. My one-story brick house sat on a quiet street in northwest Roanoke. After 36 years carrying mail, I still noticed what changed near a door. My front mat was crooked. Denise dragged her right foot slightly when she turned. Inside, Mom's bedroom looked as if someone had packed in a hurry while trying not to appear rushed. The closet door stood open. 6 empty hangers faced different directions. The photograph of Mom and Dad was gone, but her clock remained plugged in. The green hearing aid pouch sat beside a paperback, and her pill organizer and eye drops remained in the bathroom. She didn't pack everything, Beth said. She packed what looked like enough. I opened the top dresser drawer. Mom's winter gloves were gone, though it was May, while her summer nightgowns remained. Denise had packed for the idea of leaving, not for the woman going. Aunt Denise did this alone? Beth asked. She says Mom told her what to take. Grandma would have taken the green pouch. Yes. Beth sat on the edge of the bed. Dad, why does Aunt Denise think you're leaving? I placed the pill organizer in a grocery bag, then added the charger, eye drops, blue sweater, and the soft slippers Mom wore in the morning. I took one trip. That's not what I asked. I said something after urgent care. What? I shut the drawer. I said I needed 1 week where nobody needed me. Beth waited. She was good at that. As a school librarian, she spent her days waiting for children to find the words they were trying not to use. Mom heard me? She asked. I don't know. Denise did. And then you went to Tennessee. 3 months later. Did you talk to Grandma about it? There was nothing to talk about. I came home. Beth rubbed her thumb over a loose thread on the bedspread. You fix the practical part and assume everybody understands the rest. Your grandmother has lived here 4 years. I thought that counted. It counts. It doesn't speak. I nearly told her not to start sounding like a counselor, but that would have been unfair. She was not dressing up the point. She was saying it plain. I zipped the grocery bag and carried it to the kitchen. On the refrigerator hung Mom's list for the next day. Oatmeal, bananas, decaf tea, stamps. 4 days earlier, she had complained that tulip stamps made condolence cards look cheerful. Now her chair was empty, and the uneaten cake sat on my counter. Beth came in behind me. Do you want me to take the bag? I'll do it. Maybe I should go with you. I'm dropping off medicine, not storming a castle. Aunt Denise may not let you in. Then Carl will. You have a lot of faith in Carl. No, I have a lot of faith in people wanting an awkward moment to end. Beth gave me a tired smile. That does sound like Uncle Carl. Before she left, she opened the cake box, cut 2 pieces, and put one in a plastic container. For Grandma, she said. She didn't get her birthday cake. I added it to the bag. Denise and Carl lived near Salem, in a 2-story house with a steep front walk. The guest room was upstairs, and the downstairs bath had no rail. I told myself Mom would use the sunroom and that this was temporary. Carl opened the door before I reached the bell. He looked over his shoulder, stepped outside, and pulled the door nearly closed behind him. I brought her medicine, I figured. He took the grocery bag. She's resting. I want to see her. Denise thinks tonight should stay quiet. I didn't ask Denise. Carl pressed his lips together. I had liked Carl for 27 years without ever knowing him well. June said she's tired, he said. Did June say she doesn't want to see me? He looked at the bag. Not exactly. Then ask her. The door opened behind him. Denise stood in the entry with her arms folded. She finally settled down. Her hearing aid charger is in there. I said I would buy one. She already has one. You don't need to keep proving you know where everything is. I'm not proving anything. She needs her pills tonight. And now she has them. I looked past Denise toward the stairs. Mom? Denise stepped outside and closed the door. Do not shout through my house. Then let me talk to her. Tomorrow. Why tomorrow? Because every time she sees you, she starts doubting herself. Maybe she should doubt what you told her. Carl moved a few feet away and stared at the lawn. Denise lowered her voice. You don't understand what she was like while you were gone. I called every day. You called me. Because you said she couldn't come to the phone. Sometimes she couldn't. All 7 times? She was upset. About what? Denise looked toward the front window. A curtain shifted, then fell still. I could not tell whether it was Mom or the air vent. She asked me what would happen if you met someone, Denise said. She asked what would happen if Beth wanted you closer. She asked what would happen when driving her became too much. And you answered with things I never said? I answered honestly. No, you answered usefully. Her face tightened. What's that supposed to mean? It means every answer led her to your house. My house is not a punishment. It has 12 stairs between her and the bed. Carl is moving a bed into the sunroom. Carl turned from the lawn. I said I'd look at it. Denise shot him a glance. And we will. I said, let me talk to Mom alone. No. Denise, she chose to come here. After you told her I was leaving, after you made her feel temporary for 4 years. The front door opened again. Mom stood inside in her stocking feet, one hand against the wall. I can hear both of you, she said. Denise hurried toward her. Mom, you should be sitting. I have been sitting all day. She looked at the grocery bag in Carl's hands. Did you bring the green pouch? Yes, I said. And your blue sweater. The bright blue? The one with the pearl buttons. Good. She glanced at Denise. I want 5 minutes with my son. Denise opened her mouth. Mom raised one finger. 5. Carl handed me the bag and went inside. Denise stayed on the porch. Alone, Mom said. Denise's shoulders lifted and fell. She walked down the front steps and stood beside the mailbox, close enough to see us but too far to hear ordinary voices. Mom led me into the sunroom. Carl had moved a narrow daybed against one wall. A folded sheet still lay in plastic on top of it. The room smelled faintly of potting soil from 3 empty planters by the windows. Mom sat in a wicker chair, and I took the one across from her. I placed the cake container on the small table. Beth cut that for you. Mom looked at it, then at the 6 postcards in my hand. You really sent those? I gave them to her. She read each address first, checking dates, then turned them over one by one. I watched the corners of her mouth move as she recognized my handwriting. Denise said you were too busy, she said. I wasn't. She said the call dropped the first night. It did. After that, she said you were asleep. Mom set the cards in her lap. I was never asleep. I felt something cold and steady settle under my ribs. What did she tell you? That you sounded happy. I was happy for a week. There's nothing wrong with that. No. She said you told Beth you might stay longer. Beth had to be back at work Monday. We came home Friday. Mom rubbed one postcard with her thumb. I knew some of it sounded wrong. Why didn't you ask me? You came home tired. Then you spent Saturday fixing the toilet, and Sunday you drove me to church, and Monday you argued with the pharmacy. I thought I would wait until you said it yourself. I didn't say it because it wasn't true. I know that now. I leaned forward. Then come home. The words came too quickly. Mom looked toward the window where Denise stood near the mailbox with her back to us. That's what you want? Yes. Because you want me there, or because Denise lied? Both. Those are different. She went into my house and packed your clothes. I told her she could. Did you tell her to take winter gloves in May and leave your medicine? Mom almost smiled, but it faded. She was angry. At me. At a lot of things. That still doesn't answer my question. Mom stacked the postcards carefully. I asked Denise what I would do if you decided you wanted a different life. Why would you ask her that? Because asking you would make you say whatever kept me calm. I sat back. That was not fair, and it was also not entirely wrong. During Carol's illness, I had learned to answer fear with schedules and refills. After she died, I kept turning feelings into errands because errands could be completed. I'm telling you now, I said. I'm not leaving. For how long? Mom, that is what I mean. She did not sound accusing. She sounded tired. You're 69. You should be allowed to travel. You should be allowed to wake up and decide you don't want to drive me across town. But I need to know what happens to me when you decide that. We make a plan. We never have. Then we will. She looked at the blue suitcase sitting near the daybed. Denise had left the top slightly open, and the sleeve of Mom's lavender blouse showed through the gap. I'm staying here tonight, she said. Why? Because if I go back with you because Denise lied, nothing else gets answered. And staying with Denise answers it? No. It gives me one night where neither of you can pretend this is simple. I wanted to say Denise had already made it simple by lying. I wanted to point at the postcards and tell Mom there was a clear wrong person in this room and a clear place she belonged. Instead, I looked at the steep step between the sunroom and the kitchen. Can you get to the bathroom? Carl put a chair in the downstairs one. That wasn't my question. I can manage. Your cane is in the car? Beside the suitcase. Keep the phone with you. Mom gave me the look she used when I repeated something she had understood the first time. Raymond, all right. She reached across the table and touched the back of my hand. I know what you've done for me. That should have comforted me. It didn't. Past tense has a way of making even gratitude sound like a closing door. Denise tapped on the glass from outside. Mom pulled her hand back. 5 minutes, Denise called through the door. It's been 12, I said. Mom sighed. Go home. I'll call tomorrow. You have your phone? In my purse. Charged? Go. I stood. At the door, she said, Raymond. I turned. She held up the stack of postcards. I'm keeping these. They're yours. Denise met me in the entry. Satisfied? She asked. No. She's staying. For tonight. That's not what she told me. Mom, still in the sunroom, called. It is exactly what I told you. Carl coughed into his fist. Denise's face colored. I opened the front door. I'll call in the morning, I said. Not before 9, Denise answered. I looked at Mom through the glass. You call me when you wake up. Denise started to speak, but I'd already stepped outside. On the drive home, I followed my old mail route without meaning to. Habit was easier than choosing where to go next. When I reached my street, a white florist van was stopped in front of my house. For one foolish second, I thought Denise had sent flowers to smooth things over. The driver held out a clipboard and asked for June Cole. She isn't here, I said. I can take them. I signed for 3 yellow roses and read the card at the kitchen counter. Welcome home, Grandma June. We're glad Aunt Denise finally stepped in. Love, Tessa and Mark. Tessa was Denise's daughter. Mark was her husband. They lived in Richmond and had not seen Mom since Christmas. I set the card beside the uneaten cake and called Beth. Did you tell Tessa that Mom moved? I asked. No, I haven't talked to her in weeks. She sent flowers. Beth was quiet. Dad, the family group has been going all afternoon? What family group? Another silence. The one Aunt Denise started last month. I'm not in it. I know. Who is? Cousins. Tessa. Uncle Carl. Me. Your grandmother? No. I pulled out a kitchen chair and sat. What has Denise been saying? Beth exhaled slowly. That grandma was scared you'd leave without arranging anything, that you told her you wanted the house empty by fall, that grandma asked Denise to take over because you were overwhelmed. Did you believe her? I believed you were tired. I didn't know about the rest. Why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you tell me grandma was worried? We both stopped. The question traveled in both directions, and neither of us had a good place to put it. Send me the messages, I said. I don't want to turn this into screenshots in Teams. Neither do I. Then tell me what matters. Beth read me the important messages. 2 weeks earlier, Denise had written that I wanted freedom by summer and had offered no reliable plan. That morning, she posted, Today we're finally bringing Mom, where she won't have to wonder whether she still has a place. Tessa replied, Thank God. She planned the announcement, I said. Looks like it. Before Mom agreed? I don't know. The suitcase was packed before lunch. Beth lowered her voice. Dad, Aunt Denise also said Grandma had asked for the move. Mom asked what would happen if I left. That isn't the same. No. Can you add me to the group? I can. I looked at the flowers, the birthday cake, and Mom's grocery list on the refrigerator. Don't. Why? Because if I go in there angry, Denise gets to make this about how I speak instead of what she did. That is surprisingly wise. Don't sound so shocked. Beth laughed once, then stopped. What are you going to do? I looked toward Mom's open bedroom door. Tomorrow, I'm going to ask Mom what she wants without either of us answering for her. And if she wants to stay with Aunt Denise, the question scraped. Then I bring her the rest of her things. Even after this, she's not luggage. I thought of the blue suitcase packed with the wrong clothes. I had spent the day angry that Denise treated Mom like something to move, while my first response had been to return her to the right room. I need to call her, I said. She said tomorrow. I know. Dad, leave her one quiet night. I did not like the advice, which was one reason I suspected it was good. All right. After we hung up, I changed the front door code. The code belonged to my house. Removing the one Denise had used without asking was not the same as deciding where Mom lived. I entered a new number and wrote it nowhere. Then I went inside and closed Mom's closet door. At 8:43, my phone rang. The screen showed Denise's number, but Mom spoke when I answered. Her voice was low. Did you change the code? Yes. Denise tried it? She said Carl should collect my sewing box. You told her to? I told her I might need it. I sat at the kitchen table. I'll bring it tomorrow. She said you locked me out too. You don't use the keypad. You have a key. There was a pause. Do I? It's on the red ring in your purse. I heard fabric moving, then Denise's voice in the background, too muffled to make out. Mom said, the red ring isn't here. Where is it? Denise said she left all the house keys on your dresser. I stood so quickly the chair legs scraped. I went to Mom's room and switched on the lamp. On the dresser, beside the small clock, lay the red key ring. Her house key, mailbox key, and the tiny brass key to her cedar chest were all there. Denise had packed Mom out of my house and left every key behind. I found them, I said. Did you ask her to leave them? No. Do you want your house key? It's your house. That's not what I asked. Mom was quiet long enough that I heard Denise say, tell him we'll deal with it tomorrow. Mom covered the phone, but not fully. I am talking to my son. Denise answered something sharper. Then Mom came back. Bring the keys, she said. All of them? All of them. And the sewing box? Yes. Anything else? The green address book from the desk drawer. I'll bring it. Another pause. Raymond, did you tell Beth I was holding you back? No. Did you tell anyone you wanted the house empty? No. Did you ever ask Denise to find me another place? No. I heard Mom breathe out. Then she has been saying this longer than she admitted. How long? Since before your trip. Denise's voice came closer. That's enough for tonight. Mom said, 9 tomorrow. Come by yourself. I will. And don't argue on the porch. I'll do my best. Do better than that. The line went dead. I remained standing in Mom's room with the red key ring in my hand. The cedar chest key had a frayed piece of blue yarn tied through it because Mom could not tell the small brass keys apart. I remembered tying that yarn for her 2 winters earlier. I had considered it another finished task. Now I put the keys in my pocket, opened the desk drawer for the green address book, and found a white envelope beneath it with my name written across the front in Mom's hand. It was not sealed. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper dated 3 weeks before my Tennessee trip. Raymond, I need to ask you what happens if I want a place of my own again. I know you think I am safer here. I also know you have built your days around me without ever asking whether I wanted to be the center of them. I stopped reading. The rest of the page remained folded under my thumb, and for the first time that day, Denise's lie was not the only thing waiting for me in the morning. I unfolded the rest of Mom's letter and sat on the edge of her bed. Her handwriting grew smaller near the bottom, as if she had begun to regret using the whole page. I miss having a door that is mine, she had written. I miss deciding when the television is on and whether I eat supper at 5 or 7. You have been good to me, Raymond. Sometimes being grateful makes it harder to ask for something different. Denise says you will think I am rejecting you. Maybe she is right. I put the paper down beside me and looked around the room I had prepared after the pipe burst in Mom's apartment. I had chosen the mattress because it was firm enough for her back. I had lowered the closet rod, replaced the round doorknob with a lever, and put a small lamp beside the bed so she would not cross the room in the dark. I had done each thing without asking whether she wanted to live there after the repairs were finished. The apartment building had reopened 11 months after the flood, but by then, Mom's dishes were in my cabinets and her chair was beside my window. We had simply kept going. I read the letter again, then slipped it into the envelope and placed it with the red keyring and green address book. At 8:30 the next morning, I carried those things, her sewing box, and a paper bag of clean clothes to my truck. I had slept perhaps 2 hours. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Mom ask whether I wanted her in my house or only wanted to prove Denise wrong. I reached Denise's street at 8:57 and parked along the curb. The gray SUV was in the driveway. Carl's pickup was gone. Denise opened the door before I knocked. She said 9. It's 9. It's 3 minutes early. Then I'll stand here 3 minutes. She looked at the bags in my hands. You brought too much. Mom asked for it. She doesn't need the sewing box today. She asked for it. Denise stepped aside, but only far enough for me to pass without touching her. The house smelled like coffee and lemon furniture polish. Mom sat at the kitchen table, wearing the bright blue sweater I had brought. Her hair was combed, and the 6 postcards were arranged in a neat stack beside her cup. She looked tired but alert. You found the keys? She asked. I placed the red ring in front of her. All 3. She closed her fingers around them and held them in her lap. Denise leaned against the counter. I still don't understand why she needs a key to your house if she's living here. Mom looked over her shoulder. Because my belongings are there. We can collect them. I didn't ask you. Denise's mouth flattened. I set the sewing box and address book on the table, then took the envelope from my jacket. Mom saw it immediately. You read that? It was not a question. It had my name on it. That did not mean you were supposed to find it before I gave it to you. I found it while looking for the address book. You could have stopped after the first line. I could have. She waited. I didn't, I said. I'm sorry. Denise made a small sound that might have been a laugh. Mom turned the envelope over in her hands. How much did you read? All of it. Then you know I wasn't asking to move in with Denise. Yes, Denise straightened. That letter was written before we discussed what was realistic. Whose version of realistic? I asked. The one where an 80-year-old woman doesn't live alone because she wants to prove a point. Mom pushed her coffee away. I have never wanted to prove a point in my life. It sounds exhausting. I pulled out the chair across from her. What kind of place were you thinking about? Denise answered before Mom could. She saw an advertisement for senior apartments and started imagining it would be like a hotel. I asked Mom, and I've been the one talking to her about it. That seems to be the problem. Raymond, Mom said. I stopped. She touched the edge of the envelope with one finger. Blue Ridge Commons. Denise turned toward her. We agreed not to start that again. You agreed. Because you understood the stairs, the meals, the emergency buttons, and everything else they don't provide. They have elevators. That is not the point, I asked Mom. Have you been there? She looked at Denise rather than me. Once. When? In March. That was 2 months before my Tennessee trip. Who took you? Denise opened a cabinet and removed a mug she did not need. Mom said, your sister. You toured it with her? I asked her to drive me. Why didn't you ask me? Mom gave me a patient look. Read the letter again. I sat back. You thought I'd talk you out of it. I thought you would start listing reasons before I finished explaining why. Would I have? She glanced around the kitchen, and I knew the answer before she spoke. You're already doing it in your head. She was right. I was thinking about the distance from Blue Ridge Commons to her cardiologist, the narrow entrance off Brandon Avenue, whether the bathrooms had rails, and what happened if she forgot to charge her hearing aid. I had not asked what she liked about the place. What did you like? I said. Denise set the mug down too hard. This is irresponsible. Mom ignored her. The windows faced the courtyard. There was a small kitchen, not one of those counters with a hot plate. The bedroom door closed. They have card games on Tuesday, and a bus goes to the grocery store twice a week. How much? I asked. Mom's expression changed. There. That's what you do. Rent matters. Of course it matters. It does not have to be the first thing. I rubbed my forehead. All right. What else did you like? Nobody would have to tell me whose house it was. The kitchen went still. Denise folded her arms. You told me Raymond made you feel welcome. He did. Then why say that? Mom picked up the red key ring. Because being welcome and being at home are not always the same. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to remind her that her name was on the mailbox, that she chose the curtains in her room, and that I had never once asked her for rent. Those facts were true. They were also the kind of answers she had predicted I would give. What happened after the tour? I asked. Mom looked down at her hands. Denise said, she realized it was not practical. Let her answer. I'm trying to keep this conversation from upsetting her. You hid her son's mail and told her he was leaving. And you opened her private letter. Yes, I said. I did. That was wrong. Denise seemed irritated that I had not fought her on it. She turned to Mom. Tell him what the woman said about the waiting list. Mom replied. She said a one-bedroom might be available in June. Might, Denise repeated. And the rent was more than your old apartment. I could afford it. Until something happens. Something always happens. That doesn't mean you plan badly. Mom's hand tightened around the keys. I asked, did you fill out an application? We took one home. Where is it? Denise opened her mouth. Mom spoke first. I don't know. You put it in your purse, Denise said. Then where is the purse? Upstairs. The black one? Yes. Mom looked at me. I stopped using it before your trip. The strap hurt my shoulder. Denise said, I looked through it. There was no application. Mom's eyes narrowed. You looked through my purse? You asked me to find your insurance card. That does not mean throw things away. I didn't throw anything away. Then where is it? Probably at Raymond's. I knew it was not. Mom kept papers in 3 places. The desk drawer, the green address book, or the blue accordion folder on the closet shelf. I had searched all 3 after the birthday lunch, looking for any other note Denise had planted. There had been no application. I haven't seen it, I said. Denise poured coffee into the mug she had taken down. Then perhaps Mom misplaced it. Perhaps, Mom said, in a tone that meant she did not believe that. Denise sat across from me. This is exactly why living alone is a bad idea. She loses important papers, gets frightened, and then somebody becomes the villain. Mom pushed her chair back. I'm going to wash my cup. Denise stood immediately. Leave it. I'll do it. I have washed cups for 70 years. The floor is slippery. It is dry. Mom carried the cup to the sink, moving slowly but without help. Denise hovered half a step behind her until Mom turned. Sit down. I'm making sure you don't fall. You are making me nervous. Denise returned to her chair but did not sit. Mom rinsed the cup, dried it, and placed it in the cabinet. Then she came back to the table and rested both hands on her cane. I want to go home this afternoon, she said. Relief rose so quickly in me that I spoke before she finished. Good. I'll get the suitcase. For a week, she added. Then I want to visit Blue Ridge Commons again. We can do that, I said. Or we can make your room more private. I could put in a small refrigerator. I can move the television from the den, and if the kitchen schedule bothers you, you can eat whenever you want. I could clear the side entrance so you don't have to come through the living room, and there's enough space beside the bathroom for... Mom sat down again. Denise looked almost pleased. I heard my own voice and stopped. You asked what I wanted, Mom said. Then you started rebuilding your house around the answer you hoped I would give. I'm trying to make it work. For you. For both of us. You don't even know whether I want it to work. I leaned back and felt heat rise into my face. I'm supposed to say nothing while Denise moves you out using lies? No. You are supposed to listen while I tell you I might not want either house. Denise stepped toward the table. You cannot live alone. Mom turned on her. And you cannot decide that because you once drove me to see an apartment. You asked for my opinion. I did not ask you to announce a permanent move at my birthday. You were afraid to tell him. I was afraid to tell both of you different things for different reasons. Denise's eyes shone, though whether from anger or hurt I could not tell. I am the only one here willing to say what could go wrong. No, Mom said. You are the one who enjoys saying it. Denise went silent. The refrigerator motor came on with a low hum. I looked at Mom and understood that bringing her home that day would not restore anything. She would return because Denise had lied, and I would treat the return as proof that my house had been the correct answer. What do you want today? I asked. Today? Just today, Mom considered it. I want to stay here through Sunday. It was Thursday. Why? Because going back with you right now would feel like choosing sides. This is not an equal disagreement. I know. Denise hid your mail. I know. She told people things that weren't true. I know that too. Then why reward her? Mom's face closed slightly. There is the list again. What list? Reasons I should do what you want. I stood and walked to the window. Denise's backyard held a square patio, 2 metal chairs, and a row of tomato plants Carl had tied to wooden stakes. One plant had fallen sideways, pulling its string loose. I stared at it longer than necessary. All right, I said. Through Sunday, Denise began. Raymond, you don't get to approve. I wasn't talking to you. Mom said, both of you stop. I turned back. Do you have your phone? Yes. Your keys? She lifted the red ring. Do you want me to leave the sewing box? Yes. The address book? Yes. Anything else? Not today. I picked up the empty clothing bag. At the doorway, Mom said, Raymond, I want you to think about something before Sunday. What? If I choose Blue Ridge Commons, will you help me because it is what I want? Or will you spend every day waiting for me to admit you were right? I gripped the paper handles until they creased. I don't know. That is a better answer than you usually give. Denise followed me to the front door. When Mom could no longer hear us, she said, You filled her head with that apartment again. She toured it with you. She was curious. There's a difference. You took the application. I did not. Then where is it? Asked the person who loses things. I turned toward her. Don't speak about her that way. I've spent weeks handling her panic while you took a vacation and came home pretending nothing happened. I was gone 7 days. You were absent before you left. What does that mean? It means you put food on the table, drive her everywhere, and think that makes you available. Her words stung because they were close to Beth's. I could not tell whether Denise had found a true thing inside her lie or had simply learned where to press. Did you tell her I was selling the house? I asked. Denise looked toward the kitchen. I told her you had talked about downsizing. I said the yard was getting harder to maintain. That is how it starts. For whom? People our age. You are 63. Exactly. I lowered my voice. Did you tell her Beth wanted me in Arizona? Beth's company has an office there. Beth has never considered moving. Not yet. So you took a possibility, attached it to another possibility, and handed both to Mom as a plan. Denise leaned close enough that I smelled her coffee. You do the same thing, only yours always ends with her staying in your spare room. I wanted to answer, but Mom called from the kitchen. Denise, where are my reading glasses? Denise turned away at once. On the side table, Mom. I left before the argument started again. At home, the quiet felt staged. Mom's chair faced the television. Her tea mug remained upside down on the drying mat. A half-finished crossword sat beside the lamp with 3 answers written in blue ink. I carried the birthday cake to the trash, then stopped and put it back in the refrigerator. Throwing it away felt like making a decision no one had asked for. I spent the afternoon checking things that did not need checking. I tightened the loose handle on Mom's dresser. I replaced the batteries in the hallway nightlight. I measured the bathroom doorway and wrote the number on an envelope before realizing I had no reason to widen it. At 3, Beth called. How did it go? Your grandmother wants to live somewhere else. With Aunt Denise? No. An independent senior apartment. Beth was silent. Did you know? I asked. No. Denise took her to see it in March. That doesn't sound like Aunt Denise. She changed her mind afterward. Or Grandma did. Maybe. I told her about the letter and my attempt to redesign the room before Mom had finished speaking. Beth did not laugh. You were scared, she said. That's not an excuse. No, but it's probably the reason. I sat at the kitchen table and looked at the refrigerator list. I thought she was safe here. She probably was. Then why leave? Dad, safe isn't the only thing people want. You sound like her. Good. That wasn't praise. I know. She asked whether I wanted dinner. I said no. 10 minutes after we hung up, I made a grilled cheese sandwich and burned one side because I was watching the driveway. At 5:15, Denise posted another message in the family group. Beth called and read it to me before I asked. Mom has decided to remain with us while we evaluate what level of care she needs, Denise had written. Please give her space and direct questions through me so she doesn't become overwhelmed. Mom said Sunday, I said. I know. She said nothing about evaluating care. I know. Did anybody answer? Tessa sent a heart. Cousin Laura said she'd pray. Carl hasn't said anything. What did you say? Nothing yet. Don't fight with her in the group. I wasn't planning to. Tell them Grandma can answer her own phone. Beth paused. You just told me not to fight. That's not fighting. That's correcting. Do you want me to add you? No. Why not? Because Denise will say I'm pressuring Mom through the family. She's already doing that. I rubbed the bridge of my nose. Ask Mom before you post anything. How? Call her. Aunt Denise told everyone to go through her. That instruction has no authority. Beth was quiet, then said, You know, for a man who hates arguments, you can make one sound like a postal regulation. Call your grandmother. Mom did not answer Beth's first 2 calls. Denise sent a text saying she was sleeping. At 6:30, Mom called Beth back from Carl's phone. She had not been asleep. Denise had placed her phone on a charger in the upstairs bedroom because she said too many calls were upsetting her. Mom had asked for it twice. Why didn't she just go get it? I asked. The stairs, Beth said. She didn't want Denise following her up. Did Carl give her the phone? He gave her his. What did Mom say about the group message? She didn't know there was one. I stood and walked to the front window. I'm going over there. She told you not to argue on the porch. I can argue inside. Dad? Denise took her phone. Grandma asked you to give her until Sunday. She also asked not to be treated like a package. Then ask Grandma what she wants you to do. I called Carl. He answered on the fourth ring in a whisper. I'm in the garage. Put Mom on. She's in the sunroom. Does she have her phone? Denise gave it back. After Beth called, Carl sighed. Ray, this house has been loud for 2 days. That's not an answer. It's the one I have. Did Mom ask you to keep me away? No. Did she ask Denise to tell the family she needed a care evaluation? I don't know. Ask her. You ask her? She has her phone. I heard the garage door creak. Carl, did you know about the postcards? Not until the restaurant. Did you know Denise told Mom I was selling my house? She said you had talked about moving. That isn't what I asked. He was quiet long enough that I heard a lawnmower start somewhere down the street. Denise worries ahead of time, he said. She gets a thought and treats it like it already happened. That sounds difficult to live with. It is. Then stop helping her do it. The line went quiet again. I'm not helping, he said, standing in the room and saying nothing can look a lot like helping. You've had 4 years to talk to June about what she wants. Don't put all of that on me. I nearly snapped back, but he was right about the 4 years. Fair enough, I said, but the phone stays with Mom. I'll make sure. And no one tells the family she made a decision she hasn't made. Tell Denise that. I have. Then you know how well it works. He ended the call. Mom called 10 minutes later. I am not being held prisoner, she said before I spoke. I didn't say you were. Beth sounded like she was preparing a rescue. Denise took your phone upstairs. She put it on the charger. Where you couldn't reach it. I have it now. Only because Carl brought it down. Raymond. I stopped. Do you want me to come get you? I asked. No. Do you want me to tell the family you have not decided to stay there? No. Why not? Because I don't want my housing discussed in a group message at all. Denise already discussed it. Then another message will not improve it. I walked back to the kitchen. She said you need a care evaluation. I know. Do you? Everyone my age could use some evaluation. That does not make your sister my supervisor. Then tell her, I have. And? She cried. I had not expected that. About what? She said I trusted you more because you were Dad's favorite. Dad didn't have favorites. Mom gave a small, tired laugh. Every child believes that when they were the favorite. I wasn't. You were the one he understood. That was probably true. Dad and I could spend an hour changing brake pads without saying more than 6 words. Denise needed conversation, praise, and signs that someone had noticed her. Dad often missed those signs. Is that why she's doing this? I asked. You would have to ask her. I did. You asked her whether she lied. That is not the same question. I sat down. Why did you ask her to take you to Blue Ridge Commons? Because she complains that I lean on you too much. She wanted you to move. She wanted me to have options, at first. What changed? I don't know. You must have some idea. Maybe the apartment became too real. Maybe she thought I would choose you as my emergency contact. Maybe she enjoyed being the child with information you didn't have. That last one sounds likely. Do not make me regret being honest. I won't. You already are. I leaned back in the chair. What do you want me to do between now and Sunday? Nothing. That's difficult. Yes. Anything else? Call me tomorrow after breakfast. Not Denise. Me. All right. And please don't change my room. I looked toward the hallway. The measuring tape was still stretched across the bathroom doorway. I won't. After we hung up, I rolled the tape back into its case and placed it in the garage. The next morning, Mom answered on the second ring. Denise was in the shower, and Carl had gone to work. Mom said she had slept poorly on the daybed because the streetlight shone through the thin curtains. I offered to bring heavier ones. She told me no. I asked whether she wanted breakfast from the diner she liked. She said she had eaten cereal. We ran out of useful things to say. Before ending the call, She asked whether I had found any Blue Ridge Commons paperwork in her room. No. Would you look again? I already checked the desk and folder. Look in the old recipe box. Why would it be there? Because I didn't want you to see it. I found the wooden recipe box on the top shelf of the pantry. Behind the card for chicken and dumplings was a folded brochure, a handwritten list of questions, and a business card for a woman named Marjorie Kane. The application was missing, but Mom had written a date beside Marjorie's number. March 18, tour, and below it, June opening call by May 20. It was May 16. There's a deadline, I said. I know. Did Denise know? She was standing beside me when Marjorie explained it. And she told the family you had decided to live with her. Mom did not answer. Do you want me to call the apartment office? I asked. Not yet. You have 4 days. I know how calendars work. Mom, I want to go there myself. I can take you. That would be you doing it. Driving is not deciding. It has been in this family. What does that mean? It means the person with the keys always believes they are only helping. I looked at the red ring she had taken to Denise's house. How do you want to get there? The city bus stops near Denise's subdivision. You haven't ridden a city bus in years. Then perhaps I should practice. The stop is half a mile away and there is no bench. I know. That isn't practical. There you are. I closed my eyes. What answer are you looking for? Ask what help I want. I waited a moment. What help do you want? I want you to pick me up at 10 tomorrow and drive me to Blue Ridge Commons. I do not want you to speak for me. I do not want you to ask about installing rails before I've seen the apartment again. I do not want you to make faces when they mention the price. What kind of faces? You know exactly which ones. Fine. And I will tell Denise myself. That part I would pay to watch. Raymond. Sorry. 10 o'clock. I'll be there. 20 minutes later, Denise called. You're not taking her anywhere. Mom asked me to. She's confused because you keep stirring this up. She found the brochure before I knew it existed. I took her there. I know what happened. Then why did you tell everyone she had chosen your house? Because after the tour, she spent 2 days frightened about being alone. Did she say she changed her mind? She said she didn't know. That isn't, yes. At her age, uncertainty is information. Only if you're collecting it honestly. Denise lowered her voice. Do you know what happens if she falls in one of those apartments? She lies there until somebody notices. They have emergency pull cords. Those only work if she reaches them. She could fall in your sunroom. I'm here. You went to the grocery store yesterday. Carl was home. He was in the garage. You're making this ridiculous. No, I'm showing you that there is no room without risk. And you think the answer is to encourage her because you're embarrassed she left your house? That struck close enough that I did not respond immediately. Denise heard the pause. There it is, she said. You don't care where she is as long as she doesn't choose me. I care what she chooses. You care what she chooses if she chooses what makes you look generous. She asked me to drive her. She asked you because you've made me the enemy. You hid her mail. I delayed it. You told her I was leaving. I told her you wanted more freedom. You wrote the ending for her and called it preparation. Denise inhaled sharply. I will not let you put her in danger to punish me. You don't have the authority to stop her. We'll see. She hung up. The phrase stayed with me. I called Mom and told her about the conversation. She already came into the sunroom, Mom said. What did she say? That you bullied me into going. And what did you say? That I asked you. Did she accept that? Your sister does not accept facts that arrive without asking her permission. I smiled despite myself. Are we still going? Yes. At 9:40 the next morning, I pulled into Denise's driveway. Mom was not outside. I waited 5 minutes, then called. No answer. I rang the bell. Denise opened the door wearing gardening gloves. She's not going. Did she say that? She had a bad night. Let me talk to her. She's resting. Her phone is off. The battery died. I charged it Thursday. Phones still lose power. I looked past her. Mom? Denise stepped outside and pulled the door closed. Do not start. You know she asked me to come. She changed her mind. Then let her tell me. You upset her yesterday. You called me, and you repeated it all to her. Because the conversation was about her. Denise removed one glove finger by finger. You have always done this. Dad would say something private, and you would drag it into the middle of the room because you thought facts mattered more than feelings. What private thing did Dad say? That I made everything harder. I stared at her. When? The year before he died. He had dementia. He knew who I was. Sometimes. He knew enough. The front door opened behind her. Mom stood holding her purse and cane. I knew enough too, she said. Denise turned. You should not be standing without your shoes tied. Mom looked down. One lace had come loose. She bent slightly, then stopped because her back would not allow it. I stepped forward, but Denise knelt first and tied the shoe. Her hands were gentle. She double-knotted the lace, brushed a piece of lint from Mom's trouser leg, and stood. For a moment, the three of us looked like an ordinary family arranging an ordinary outing. That made the next part harder. I told you I was going, Mom said. Denise put her glove in her pocket. You barely slept. The streetlight was bright. You were upset. I am upset now. At him. At both of you. Mom took one careful step onto the porch. Denise held her elbow. Mom did not pull away, but she looked at me. Open the truck door. Denise followed us down the steps. Mom, please wait one more week. The apartment may be gone in 4 days. Then another will open. Maybe I want this one. You haven't seen it since March. That is why I'm going. Denise looked at me. If she signs anything today, I will hold you responsible. She can sign her own name. You know what I mean. No, Mom said. That is the problem. He usually knows what you mean, and then the two of you argue over your guesses. I helped her into the passenger seat. Before I closed the door, she turned to Denise. I will call after the visit. Denise's face softened. You don't have to choose today. I know. Promise me. I will not promise to delay a choice so you feel better. Denise stepped back as if Mom had pushed her. I closed the door and walked around the truck. For the first several blocks, Mom watched the houses pass. Her purse rested on her lap with both hands folded over it. She loves you, I said. I know. She's afraid. I know that too. I'm not defending what she did. You are trying to make it easier to understand. Maybe understanding can wait until she stops doing it. I glanced at Mom. That sounded like something you've wanted to say for a while. Since yesterday. Blue Ridge Commons sat behind a row of maple trees near a medical office and a small shopping center. It was a 4-story brick building with white balconies and a covered entrance. Not a hotel. Not a nursing home. 2 women in sun hats sat on a bench near the doors, arguing cheerfully about whether a tomato counted as a fruit in a salad. Mom listened as we passed and smiled. Inside, the lobby had worn armchairs, a jigsaw puzzle on a side table, and a bulletin board covered with handwritten notices. A woman with short gray hair came out of an office. June, she said. Mom's face brightened. Marjorie. Marjorie Kane shook Mom's hand, then mine. You made it back. This is my son Raymond, the mail carrier. Mom looked embarrassed. Former mail carrier. Marjorie smiled. Your mother told me you could identify every dog in Northwest Roanoke by bark. Only the unfriendly ones. Those are the useful ones to remember? She invited us into her office. I sat beside Mom and kept my mouth closed while Marjorie explained that the same 1-bedroom apartment was still expected to open in June. The current tenant had moved closer to her daughter, but maintenance needed at least 2 weeks to repaint and replace the carpet. We held the application through April, Marjorie said. When we didn't hear back, I assumed you had decided against it. Mom asked, did anyone call? I called the number you gave us. Marjorie checked a yellow note attached to the file. A woman answered and said you were moving in with family. Mom's hand went still on her purse. What number? Marjorie read Denise's. I looked at Mom. She stared at the file. Did the woman give her name? I asked. Marjorie's expression became cautious. She said she was June's daughter. That is true, Mom said. The rest was not. Marjorie closed the file. I'm sorry. We should have asked to speak directly with you. Did she withdraw my name? No. We cannot do that without your signature. We moved you back to the inquiry list. Is the apartment still available? It is, but another applicant is scheduled to view it Monday afternoon. Mom glanced at me, then at Marjorie. May I see it now? We took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The apartment door stood open. The carpet had already been removed, exposing a concrete floor marked with pale rectangles where furniture had sat. The walls were empty except for nail holes. Sunlight crossed the living room and reached into a small kitchen with white cabinets. Mom walked directly to the window. Below us, 3 women were watering raised garden beds. A man in a red cap pushed a cart along the path. The courtyard, Mom said. You remembered, Marjorie replied. Mom went through each room slowly. She tested the bathroom rail, opened the refrigerator, and measured the bedroom wall by walking heel to toe. I wanted to ask whether her dresser would fit, but I kept quiet. In the closet, she reached for the light cord and missed it twice. I stepped forward, then stopped. She found it on the third try and pulled. The cord could be longer, she said. Marjorie nodded. Maintenance can add an extension. Mom looked at me. You were about to do it. Yes. But you didn't. I'm learning, slowly. I'm 69. Then there may still be time. Marjorie left us alone for a few minutes. Mom stood in the empty living room and turned in a slow circle. This is the place, she said. I had thought the words would feel like a rejection. Instead, they made the last 2 days line up in a different order. Denise had not moved Mom because Mom wanted Denise's house. Mom had been trying to leave both our houses, and Denise had taken that wish, wrapped it in fear, and redirected it toward herself. I had spent my energy trying to win Mom back when she had been asking not to be won. You knew in March? I asked. I suspected. Why didn't you tell me after the tour? Denise said the rent was too high and that you would take it personally. Then she started talking about how alone I would be. By the time you left for Tennessee, I wasn't sure what I wanted. And when she told you I was leaving, I thought perhaps I had waited too long. Mom touched the windowsill. I began packing in my head before she ever brought the suitcase. She called Marjorie and said you had chosen family. Yes? Are you surprised? Mom considered that. I'm surprised she went that far. I'm not. You should be. She is your sister. That doesn't make her honest. No, it means you should notice when dishonesty is new. I looked at the empty room. Is it new? This kind is. What kind was old? Mom gave me a tired smile. The ordinary family kind. Who called more? Who helped more? Who Dad praised? Who forgot Christmas one year and never heard the end of it? She forgot Christmas twice. That is not important. It was to Dad. Exactly. Mom walked to the kitchen and opened a lower cabinet. Denise has always wanted proof that she mattered as much as you. I never said she didn't. You didn't have to. You were the one with Dad in the garage. You handled his funeral arrangements. You took me in after the flood. Every useful thing became yours before she understood there was a job available. She lives 25 minutes away. She could have helped. She thinks helping only counts when someone notices. That is her problem. Yes, and she made it mine. Mom closed the cabinet. Do not excuse her because I understand her. I am not doing that. I looked through the window at the courtyard. What do you want now? I want to apply for this apartment. Today? Yes. The rent? She raised one eyebrow. I stopped. Do you want me to look at the numbers with you? I asked instead. Later. Today I want you to drive me to the bank so I can get a cashier's check for the holding deposit. How much? $300. Do you have your checkbook? Mom opened her purse. Inside were tissues, a comb, 2 peppermints, her wallet, and nothing else. She searched the side pocket, then the main section again. Denise has it, she said. Why? She asked for it yesterday to check whether my electric bill had cleared. Your electric bill? The final bill from the old storage unit. Why was she checking it? Mom's expression tightened. Because I asked her to help me close the account. Does she have your bank card too? No, I have that. She tapped her wallet. And your identification? Yes. Then we can get the check. Mom nodded, but she did not move toward the door. Raymond. What? I don't want to go back to Denise's house tonight. I felt the old answer rush forward. Come home. I swallowed it. Where do you want to go? Your house, until this apartment is ready. All right, with conditions. I assumed there would be some. My room stays mine. You knock. I choose my own meals unless we agree to eat together. I arrange transportation when I can, and I pay someone when I cannot. You are not required to take me everywhere. You know I don't mind driving. Sometimes you do. Sometimes, then say so before you become angry at the oatmeal. I looked away because she had remembered the same morning Denise had. Fair. And if the apartment falls through, we make another plan. We do not pretend the question disappeared. Agreed. You're answering too quickly. I can think slowly while agreeing. She smiled. That sounds like your father. I hope not all of it. Her smile faded, but she touched my arm. No, not all of it. My phone rang. Denise's name appeared on the screen. Mom saw it. Answer. I did. Where are you? Denise asked. Blue Ridge Commons. Put Mom on. I handed her the phone. Mom held it to her ear. Hello, Denise. I could hear my sister's voice, sharp but not the words. Mom listened for nearly half a minute. No, she said. Another burst from Denise. I did not ask you to call the office. Denise spoke again. Mom's face changed from anger to something flatter. You told them I was moving in with you. I heard Denise say, because that was the plan, Mom replied. It was your plan. Denise's voice rose. Mom moved the phone away from her ear, waited, then brought it back. I am applying for the apartment, Denise answered quickly. No, I am not confused. Another pause. I am going home with Raymond today. The voice on the other end stopped. Mom looked at me while she listened. Then she said, you may bring my suitcase, my medicine, and my checkbook to Raymond's house by 4 o'clock. Denise spoke for a long time. Mom's grip tightened around the phone. I am not choosing him. I am choosing where I sleep tonight. Denise interrupted again. Mom closed her eyes. You called the apartment office without asking me. You hid Raymond's cards. You told the family I had made a decision before I had made one. I will not discuss your intentions while you are still arguing with the facts. She ended the call and handed me the phone. Her fingers trembled. Are you all right? I asked. No. Do you want to sit? I am sitting. Right. She looked around the empty apartment. Do you still have the moving boxes in your garage? 12 flattened ones? Of course you know the number. There were 14. Beth took 2. Mom leaned back against the bare wall and let out a breath that was almost a laugh. We'll need more. We can get more. Not today. No, I waited. Today we get the check, she said. Then we go home. This time, I understood which home she meant and which one she did not. The bank was 2 blocks from Blue Ridge Commons, and Mom insisted on walking from the parking lot instead of letting me drop her at the door. She held her cane in her right hand and the application folder under her left arm. I carried nothing. That was harder than it sounds. At the counter, she asked for the cashier's check, counted the bills in her wallet before putting them away, and corrected the teller when he addressed his questions to me. He's the driver, she said. Then she looked sideways at me. Only today. I laughed, though the phrase still had a sharp edge. The teller smiled without knowing why. We returned to Blue Ridge Commons and gave Marjorie the check and completed application. Mom wrote my name as her first emergency contact. She left the second line blank. Would you like to list your daughter? Marjorie asked. Mom capped her pen. Not today. Marjorie did not press. She explained that the apartment would be ready no earlier than June 10 and no later than June 24. Mom would receive a call after the inspection. The holding deposit kept the apartment for her, but she could still decline it before signing the lease. Mom listened closely, asked about renter's insurance, and wrote the answers herself. I sat beside her with my hands folded so tightly that my knuckles hurt. On the way home, Mom said, "You can speak now. I wasn't aware I needed permission. You have been vibrating for 40 minutes. The emergency pull cord in the bedroom is too far from the bed. We do not know where the bed will be. The obvious wall puts it near the outlet. The obvious wall may not be the wall I choose. Fine. Anything else? The bus only runs twice a week. The city bus runs every day. You said you wanted the building bus. Sometimes. And the rent increases every January. So do property taxes. The bathroom floor gets slippery. So does Denise's kitchen." I glanced over. "You planned that answer. Since yesterday." We stopped at a red light. Mom touched the application folder on her lap. "Are you trying to talk me out of it?" "No." "Are you sure?" "I'm trying to identify problems before they become emergencies. That is how you show affection. It's one way. It is the way that makes you feel safest." The light changed. I drove through the intersection. "What would make you feel safest?" I asked. "Knowing I can ask for help without handing over the rest of my decisions." I nodded. "I can do that. You can try. You don't have much confidence in me. I have 69 years of evidence. You have 69 years of knowing me. That isn't the same as evidence. Now you sound like Denise. Take that back." Mom laughed, and the sound filled the truck in a way I had missed. When we pulled into my driveway, she sat for a moment before opening the door. "I want to go inside alone," she said. "Why?" "Because I want to know how it feels to come back by choice." I shut off the engine. All right. She climbed down slowly, adjusted her purse, and walked up the path. I stayed behind the wheel while she took out the red keyring. The house key turned on the first try. She opened the door, stepped inside, and closed it behind her. I waited 2 full minutes before following. She was in the kitchen, standing beside her chair. The flowers from Tessa were on the counter, and the birthday cake remained in the refrigerator. It smells the same, she said. What did you expect? I don't know. She touched the back of her chair. Maybe I expected it to smell like relief. Does it? No. That's encouraging. It smells like grilled cheese. I burned lunch. Also encouraging, she went to her room and closed the door. I heard drawers open, then the closet. I did not knock. I made coffee and sat on the back step until Denise's SUV entered the driveway at 3:48. Carl was driving. Denise sat beside him with her arms folded. The blue suitcase stood upright behind them. I went inside before they reached the door. Mom came out of her bedroom wearing a different blouse and carrying the letter she had written to me. They're here, I said. I heard. Do you want me to answer? It is your door. That was not the question. She looked at me for a second, then nodded. Answer it. Denise was already reaching for the handle when I opened the door. She stopped with her hand in the air. The code didn't work. I changed it. I noticed. Carl lifted the suitcase from the back of the SUV. Denise carried 2 grocery bags and a square plastic container. Mom's medicine is in here, she said, and I made enough chicken casserole for 3 nights. Mom appeared behind me. I asked for my checkbook. Denise set the grocery bags on the entry table. It's in the front pocket of the suitcase. My black purse? Also there. My phone charger? In the side pocket. Mom looked at Carl. Did you pack? He shook his head. Denise did. Then I'll check it. Denise's eyebrows lifted. You think I stole something? I think you pack according to what you believe I should need. Carl rolled the suitcase inside and left it near the wall. Denise took off her sunglasses. Can we sit down like adults? We are standing like adults, Mom said. June, Carl murmured. She ignored him. Denise looked at me. You took her to sign a lease. I took her to apply. You paid the deposit. Mom said. I paid it. With Raymond standing beside you, he drove. He is not neutral. Neither are you. Denise's face tightened. I am trying to keep you safe. By telling the apartment office I had chosen your house? By stopping them from pressuring you into something you didn't understand? Marjorie did not pressure me. You met her once. Twice now. Denise turned on me. Do you hear how she's talking? She thinks that woman is her friend. She said Marjorie's name. That is not my point. Then make your point without treating Mom like she left the room. Carl stepped between us just enough to interrupt the angle of our bodies. Maybe we should sit. Mom picked up the suitcase handle. I'm going to my room. Denise caught the other side. Not yet. Mom looked at her hand. Denise released it. I only meant we should finish talking. You can finish without holding my luggage. Mom pulled the suitcase down the hall. The damaged wheel thumped against the baseboard. I started after her, then stopped. She had carried that suitcase through airports before either of us had gray hair. She could pull it 20 feet. Denise watched her disappear into the bedroom. She's angry at me because you made this a competition. I didn't call Blue Ridge Commons and cancel her application. I did not cancel it. You told them she had made another choice. She had. Mom called from the bedroom. No, I had not. Denise closed her eyes. She hears everything today. Her hearing aid is charged, I said. Carl coughed, but this time I was almost certain he was hiding a laugh. Denise shot him a look. This is not funny. I didn't say it was. You haven't said much of anything. Carl glanced toward Mom's room. Maybe I should have. Denise stared at him. The front of her face seemed to go still before the rest of her caught up. Excuse me? Not here. No, here is apparently where everybody says what they've been saving. Carl put his hands into his pockets. You shouldn't have kept the postcards. I told you why. I know. You agreed she was upset. I agreed not to hand them to her while she was crying. I did not agree to put them in the suitcase and pretend they never came. You could have given them to her. They were in your desk. So this is my fault now? I didn't say that. You implied it. Mom came back carrying her black purse and checkbook. She placed them on the table and unzipped the purse. My bank card is here, she said. My identification is here. My insurance card is here. Denise threw up one hand. Wonderful. Mom opened the checkbook, checked the register, and flipped through the unused checks. All there. I told you they were. You also told me Raymond had not written. Denise's mouth opened, then closed. Mom set the checkbook beside the purse. The casserole can stay. Denise blinked. What? You made it. We can eat it. You think that makes everything normal? No. It keeps food from being wasted. Denise laughed once without humor. That is exactly how Raymond handles things. Fix the practical part and leave the rest rotting underneath. I felt the words in my chest but did not answer. Mom did. You are not wrong about him. Denise's expression shifted with surprise. But, Mom continued, he has been trying to listen since yesterday. You have been trying to win. I'm trying to protect you. From what? Falling, loneliness, people taking advantage of you, making a decision you cannot undo. Those are fears. They are not instructions. You don't know what it is like to be the one who notices what could happen. Mom tilted her head. I raised 2 children. I know exactly what that is like. Denise looked at Carl. Are you going to stand there? What do you want me to say? Anything. He shifted his weight. June asked us to bring her things. We brought them. That is not the issue. It is the reason we came. So you're leaving me alone in this? Carl rubbed his jaw. I think you should stop calling people for her. Denise stared at him as if he had spoken in another language. What people? The apartment. The family. The pharmacy last month. Mom turned. What pharmacy? Carl looked stricken. Denise said quickly, it was nothing. What did you call about? Mom asked. Your refill. Raymond handles my refills. He was in Tennessee. That was 3 months ago. The pharmacy sent a reminder to my phone because you had used my number once. What did you tell them? That Raymond was no longer the best contact. I took 1 step forward. You changed the contact number? I asked them to add mine. Without telling Mom? She was sitting beside me. Mom's brow furrowed. Was this the day we picked up the eye drops? Yes. You said you were correcting the spelling of my street. I did that too. I looked at Carl. You knew? I heard her on the phone later. And said nothing. I told her it was too much. Denise spun toward him. After you told me somebody needed to pay attention, I meant because Ray was away for a week. You always do this. You agree in the kitchen, then deny it when somebody else is listening. Carl's face reddened. I agreed you could help. I did not agree you should become the only person anyone could reach. I never became the only person. Mom tapped her phone against the table. You put this upstairs. Denise turned to her. Because it needed charging. And then told everyone to call you. Because you were overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by you 2 arguing over me. Denise's eyes filled. She looked down at the grocery bags. Fine, she said. You all have decided what I am. Mom's expression softened, but she did not move closer. No, we are describing what you did. That is easy when no one describes what you did. What did I do? You made me responsible and then punished me for being responsible. I asked you for a ride to an apartment. You called me every time Raymond sighed. Every time he left you alone to go to the hardware store. Every time he forgot something at the grocery store. I called my daughter. You called because you knew I would worry. Yes. Denise wiped under one eye with her thumb. Then why am I the villain for worrying? Mom lowered herself into the chair. You are not a villain. You are my daughter. You were frightened, and you decided fear gave you permission. Denise pressed her lips together. For a moment, I thought she might apologize. Carl seemed to think so too. His shoulders dropped slightly. Then Denise looked at me. And he gets permission because he built a grab bar? Mom's face hardened again. Do not turn this into a contest. It has always been a contest. Mostly in your head. Denise flinched. Carl said, Denise. She picked up her sunglasses. We should go. You wanted to sit like adults, Mom said. I changed my mind. That seems to happen when someone answers you. Denise put on the glasses though we were indoors. Call me when this apartment fantasy falls apart. Mom stood. Leave the emergency key. Denise stopped. What emergency key? The copy of Raymond's front door key. I looked at Mom. You said she only had the code. I gave her a key after you had pneumonia 2 years ago. Denise's hand moved toward her purse. You may need me. Then I will call. What if you can't? Raymond lives here. What if something happens to him? Beth has a key. Denise looked at me. Of course she does. She had it before Mom moved in. That is not the point. Then give Mom the key. Denise reached into her purse and placed a silver key on the table. It had a strip of red nail polish across the top. There, Mom picked it up and handed it to me. This is his. I closed my fingers around it. Denise walked to the door. Carl remained near the table. Are you coming? She asked. He looked at Mom. I'm sorry, June. For what? Not speaking sooner. Denise opened the door. Carl, I'm coming. He followed her outside. I watched from the front window as they got into the SUV. Denise spoke with both hands while Carl stared through the windshield. They sat there nearly a minute before pulling away. Mom carried the casserole to the refrigerator. She makes it too dry, she said. You still kept it. That does not make it moist. I placed the silver key in the small drawer where I kept spare batteries. Do you want to change the locks? Mom asked. The code has changed. I have the copied key. She could have made another. Do you think she did? Mom considered it. No. Then replacing the lock would be me solving a possibility. You are learning faster. Do not sound proud. It makes me nervous. We ate the casserole that evening. It was dry. Mom added gravy from a jar and said nothing about Denise. After dinner, she washed her own plate and placed it in the cabinet. I did not tell her the shelf was too high. She moved the plate to a lower one after missing the edge the first time. The next morning, I found a sheet of notebook paper taped to the refrigerator. Mom had drawn 2 columns. On the left, she had written things I can do. On the right, help I want. Under the first heading were medications, breakfast, laundry, phone calls, bills, church arrangements, and choosing where I live. Under the second were heavy groceries, night driving, step stool, confusing forms after I read them first, and emergencies I identify as emergencies. At the bottom, she had added, Raymond may offer once. I read the list while she poured cereal. Once? I said. You repeat offers until they sound like warnings. What if you did not hear me? Then I will ask, what if I think the situation is unsafe? Say what you see. Do not announce what I am allowed to do. That seems vague. Life is difficult. She handed me a pen. Write your own list. I don't need one. That sentence belongs at the top. I wrote things I need help with, then stopped. Mom ate half her cereal while I stared at the page. You could begin with asking people what they mean, she said. That sounds like something I need practice with, not help. Beth might disagree. I wrote telling people before I become resentful. Mom nodded but did not praise me. I added, letting plans change and asking for a day off. A day off from what? She asked. Driving, appointments, being the first phone call. Good. Do I tape this beside yours? That depends. Do you want me to remind you? I considered the question. Yes. She taped both pages to the refrigerator. Over the next week, the house settled into a routine that felt almost familiar, but not quite. Mom called the church office and arranged a ride with her friend Gloria for Sunday. On Monday, she used the city's senior transportation service for a dental cleaning. I followed the van's route on my phone until I realized what I was doing and turned the screen face down. On Tuesday, she cooked scrambled eggs at 7 in the evening because she said she had wanted breakfast for supper for years. I ate mine with toast and did not ask why she had never said so. On Wednesday, we went through the apartment measurements. Mom chose the wall where she wanted her bed and discovered my obvious wall would have blocked the closet. I admitted that without being forced. She chose her dresser, her chair, the small round kitchen table, and the cedar chest. The rest would stay with me, go to Beth, or be donated. Every object required a question I had not asked in 4 years. Is this yours, mine, or something we only kept because neither of us wanted to decide? Carol's blue mixing bowls turned out to be mine. Mom's china teacups were hers. The heavy oak dining table had belonged to my parents, but Mom said I should keep it because the apartment could not hold it and because Dad had carved my initials underneath when I was 10. I thought he would have carved Denise's too, I said. He did, Mom replied. On the other side. I crawled under the table with a flashlight. There they were, DC, uneven and smaller than mine. Denise must have been 7. I never knew. She did. Did she think I knew? Probably. I sat back on the floor. That explains the table at Thanksgiving. What happened at Thanksgiving? She insisted on sitting where Dad sat. She was trying to see her initials. Why didn't she say so? Mom looked at me. That question is doing a lot of work in this family. I called Denise that afternoon. She did not answer. I left a message saying I had found her initials and asking whether she wanted a photograph. She did not respond until the next morning. Keep the table. You always get the furniture. I showed Mom the text. Do you want me to answer? I asked. What would you say? That I offered a photograph, not the table. Then say that. I typed it. Denise replied within a minute. Exactly. I put the phone down. What does that mean? I asked. It means she wanted you to offer the table. She has no room for it. That is not the point. Then what is? Ask her. I called again. This time she answered. What? Do you want the table? No. Do you want something else? No. Then what are we discussing? Nothing, Raymond. You said I always get the furniture. You do. Because you said you had no room when we cleared Mom's old apartment. I had no room then. Do you now? That is not the point. I closed my eyes. What is the point? Denise was quiet. Dad built everything around you, she said. The garage, the table, the Saturday errands. Even when I was there, I was visiting something that belonged to the two of you. Your initials are under the same table. Smaller. You were smaller. That is exactly what you would say. Because it is literally true, and there is never anything under the literal truth with you. I looked at Mom, who was sorting teacups into 2 boxes at the other end of the room. Do you want the table? I asked again, more slowly. Denise inhaled through her nose. I want you to understand that when Mom chose your house after the flood, it felt like she chose that table again. She chose the house without stairs. You always have a practical answer. Because there was a practical reason. And a feeling. Yes. The word came out before I had fully prepared it. Denise went quiet. I continued. It probably felt like she chose me. She did. Maybe. But that does not mean you get to choose for her now. The silence lasted long enough that I checked whether the call had ended. Denise finally said, I knew you would use this against me. Use what? Anything I admit. I'm not using it. You just tied it to the apartment. Because they are tied. To you. To Mom. Denise's voice sharpened. You think 1 week of asking permission makes you different? No. You think helping her move out proves you are less controlling than I am? No. Then what do you want? I looked at the boxes, the teacups, and the refrigerator list. I want you to stop speaking for her. And if she makes a mistake, then it is her mistake. That is easy to say when you will still be the one cleaning it up. I don't know that. Of course you will. You like being necessary. The sentence hit harder because I had been thinking the same thing. Maybe I do, I said. Denise went silent again. That still does not make her choices mine. You will regret saying that. Maybe, when she falls or forgets a bill or calls you at 2 in the morning, remember this conversation. I probably will. She sounded almost angry that I had not defended myself. I have to go, she said. Do you want the photograph of your initials? Send it to me. I crawled under the table again, took the clearest picture I could, and sent it without a message. 10 minutes later, she replied with a single word, Thanks. Mom read the screen over my shoulder. That may be the first honest conversation the two of you have had in years. She threatened to make me remember it when you fall. Families have low standards. Blue Ridge Commons called on May 27. The apartment had passed inspection, and Mom could sign the lease on June 12. Move-in could begin the same afternoon. Mom wrote the date on the calendar in blue ink. Denise learned about it from Tessa, who learned from Beth after Mom called her directly. Within an hour, the family group came alive again. Beth showed me the messages that evening. Denise wrote that Mom was rushing into an unsafe situation under pressure. Tessa asked whether a doctor had approved. Cousin Laura said perhaps the family should meet before anything became permanent. Someone I barely knew named Stephen, a second cousin in North Carolina, wrote that elderly people often concealed confusion. When was the last time Stephen saw Grandma? Beth asked. Your grandfather's funeral. That was 11 years ago. He still has an opinion. The internet has been generous to him. Mom sat at the kitchen table with her phone. Add me to the group, she said. Beth looked at me. Are you sure? I am the person they are discussing. Beth added her. The messages stopped for nearly 3 minutes. Then Tessa wrote, Hi, Grandma. We love you and only want what's best. Mom typed with one finger. Then ask me. Denise responded immediately. Mom, no one is trying to exclude you. We're worried because decisions are being made so fast. Mom wrote, I began this decision in March. Denise, and you changed your mind. Mom, you changed it for me. The 3 dots appeared, vanished, and returned. Denise wrote, This is not a fair conversation in a group where Raymond and Beth have already taken sides. Mom looked at me. Have you written anything? No. Beth? No. Mom typed. They have said nothing. Denise did not answer for 10 minutes. Then cousin Laura wrote, maybe a calm family meeting would help. Mom replied, a meeting about what? Laura, your options. Mom, I have reviewed my options. Stephen wrote, there may be legal considerations. Mom handed the phone to me. Remove me. Already? I have learned what I needed. Which is? They want participation, not information. Beth removed her. Denise sent me a private message seconds later. You are isolating her by letting her make public statements while upset. I showed Mom. Do you want to answer? No. Do you want me to? She looked at the refrigerator list. What do you think? I think I should say future questions go to you. That is already true. Then I can state it once. Mom nodded. I asked Beth to add me to the group. She did. I wrote, Mom is moving to Blue Ridge Commons because she chose it. She toured the apartment twice, paid her own deposit, and will sign her own lease. Please call her directly rather than asking Denise or me to explain her decision. I read the message aloud to Mom before sending it. Remove the part about the deposit, she said. Why? Because money makes people think the decision is about money. I deleted it. Anything else? No. I sent the revised message. Tessa replied that she only wanted Grandma safe. I wrote, then ask her what help she wants. Denise wrote, this is exactly the kind of pressure I was afraid of. I did not answer. Laura asked whether Blue Ridge Commons provided medical care. Mom answered privately when Laura called, and later told me the conversation had been decent once no one else was watching. Stephen left the group. I remained in it but muted the notifications. That small action changed more than I expected. Denise could no longer tell the family what Mom had decided without Mom or me correcting it. She began calling relatives individually. I knew because each call produced a new version of the same concerned question. Was Mom signing under pressure? Had I promised to cover the rent? Had I refused to let Denise visit? Was Blue Ridge Commons a nursing facility? Did Mom understand she could not return to my house after moving? That last one brought Beth to my kitchen on a Sunday afternoon. Did you tell Grandma she couldn't come back? She asked. No. Aunt Denise told Tessa that you said the move had to be permanent because you were reclaiming the room. Mom, sitting in her chair with a library book, closed it. When did he supposedly say that? Friday. We were together all Friday, Mom said. He complained about the price of packing tape and moved boxes out of the garage. I did not complain. I made an observation. 3 observations. Beth sat on the couch. Grandma, do you want me to tell Tessa it isn't true? I will call her. She may not answer. Then I will leave a message. Mom did. Tessa called back that evening and apologized for repeating it. She also admitted Denise had asked her to come on lease signing day because someone needed to make sure Grandma understood. Mom thanked her and said she did understand. Tessa said she was still coming. After the call, Mom stared at her phone. Do you want her there? I asked. Not for the lease. Tell her. I did. And? She said she wants to support me. Support can happen after you sign. That is what I said. Is she still coming? Yes. I looked toward Beth. Your cousin has Denise's listening skills. Beth shook her head. She thinks showing up is love. Mom said, it often is. It is also often something else. The lease appointment was moved from June 12 to June 14 because the new carpet arrived late. Mom accepted the change more easily than I did. I had rented a small moving truck for the 14th and arranged for 2 men from Beth's neighborhood to help with the heavier furniture. Mom canceled the truck. Why? I asked. Because I do not need to move everything the day I sign. The apartment will be ready. So will it be the next day. The men are available Friday. They are also available Saturday, Beth asked. I looked at Beth. She lifted both hands. Grandma asked me to check. Why Saturday, I said. Mom folded a dish towel and set it on the table. Because Friday is becoming an audience. Tessa had taken the day off. Laura had offered to come. Denise had said nothing to me, but Carl called and asked what time the appointment was. Mom decided to sign the lease alone with Marjorie, then begin moving Saturday morning. Who is driving you Friday? I asked. Gloria. You arranged that? Yesterday. Why didn't you tell me? Because you would have rearranged the truck before I finished the sentence. I have already rearranged the truck. Exactly. Do you want me at the lease signing? No. I had expected the answer, but it still hurt. Why? Because I want one decision in this process that does not happen with either child in the room. Fair. That was quick. I had practiced. On June 14, Gloria picked Mom up at 9:30. Mom wore a navy dress and carried the black purse Denise had packed. She took the application folder and her reading glasses. At the door, I said, "Call if you want me." "I know. Check the lease dates." "I will. Ask whether the rent includes water." "It does. Make sure the emergency contact section is correct." She looked at me. That was the third offer. Those were reminders. Goodbye, Raymond. She left with Gloria. I spent the morning dismantling the small round table and labeling boxes. At 11:20, Denise pulled into the driveway. Tessa was with her. Neither had called. I met them outside. "Mom isn't here." "We know," Denise said. "Where is she?" "Signing the lease." Tessa looked at her mother. "You said it was at 1. That was the original time," I said. "The appointment changed." Denise's face hardened. "And nobody told me." "Mom told Tessa not to come." Tessa looked uncomfortable. "She said I didn't need to." "That means the same thing," I said. Denise walked toward the front door. "We'll wait." "No." She turned. "What?" "Mom wanted to sign without either of us there." "You are here?" "At my house. Preparing the move." "Because she asked me to. And I'm trying to help." "What help did she ask for?" Denise looked toward Tessa, then back at me. "This is ridiculous." "What did she ask you to do?" "She shouldn't have to make a list." "She made one." "Of course she did. You turned her into a project manager." "Mom made the list." Tessa touched Denise's arm. "Maybe we should call Grandma." Denise pulled away. "She won't answer while she's signing. Then we wait until she does. I need to see what he's packing." I stepped between Denise and the door. "No." Her face changed. "You cannot keep me out of our mother's belongings. They are inside my house. Some of them belong to me." "Which ones?" "Family things." "Name them." "The china, the photograph albums. Dad's cedar chest." "The cedar chest belongs to Mom. It came from Dad's family, and he gave it to her." "According to whom?" "Mom." Tessa said, "Mom, we don't need to do this right now." Denise ignored her. "You're using the move to take everything again. The only things packed are what Mom chose. Without me there. That was also her choice." Denise stepped closer. "You always make exclusion sound reasonable. You called the apartment office and told them she had chosen your house. We are not doing that again." "Then stop repeating the same behavior." Tessa moved between us. "Please." Denise looked at her daughter. "You said you wanted to help Grandma?" "I do." "Then help me make sure he is not taking advantage." Tessa's face flushed. "I did not say that. You said the family deserved to know what was happening." "I said Grandma should not be alone." "Same thing." "No." Denise stared at her daughter. Tessa lowered her voice. "Mom, Grandma asked me not to come to the signing. We should have listened." "You came because you said she might need us." "She does." Tessa looked at me, then at the closed front door. "Maybe she needs us to leave." Denise laughed softly. "Wonderful. He got to you too." "Nobody got to me." "That is what people say when they've chosen a side." "I am not choosing Uncle Raymond." Tessa's voice shook. "I am listening to Grandma." Denise's mouth tightened. For a second, she looked exactly like she had at 20 when Dad praised my repair work and forgot she had painted the whole kitchen. The memory made me less angry and more cautious. "Denise," I said, "go home. Call Mom this afternoon. Ask what she wants you to help with tomorrow. And if she says nothing, then do nothing. You would love that." "No, I think she would." Tessa touched her mother's elbow again. This time, Denise led her. They walked back to the SUV. Before getting in, Denise turned. "The whole family will be here tomorrow." "Why?" "Because people have questions. They can call Mom. They want to hear the same answer in the same room. Mom did not invite them. Laura offered to bring lunch." "That is not an invitation." Denise opened the driver's door. 10 o'clock. "No, you cannot stop family from visiting. I can stop people from entering my house." She looked at the front door, then at me. "You would throw your own relatives off the porch while Mom is moving?" "I would ask them to leave if she asked them to leave." "There it is again. You get to enforce everything. Only at my house. Denise got into the SUV and drove away. Mom returned just after noon with Gloria and a new set of keys in a white envelope. She had signed the lease. The apartment was hers beginning that day. She placed one key on the table and held the other. One for me, she said. One for the office in a sealed emergency envelope. No family copies yet. That is probably wise. Do not sound pleased. I am practicing neutrality. Gloria stayed for coffee while Mom described the signing. Marjorie had reviewed every page, and Mom had called the insurance company herself. Her first month's rent would be withdrawn from her account on July 1. The only problem was the bus stop, which had no shade. Gloria said she would help petition the city for a bench. Mom looked delighted by the idea of beginning her independent life with a complaint to Public Works. After Gloria left, I told her about Denise and Tessa. Mom listened without interrupting. Tessa left with her? She asked. Yes. Did she speak for herself? Eventually. Mom nodded. Good. Denise says the family is coming tomorrow at 10. Mom closed her eyes. I did not invite them. I told her that. She will bring them anyway. Probably. How many? She said the whole family, which could mean 6 or 60. Laura, Tessa, Carl, Beth. Maybe Stephen by video. Mom opened her eyes. No video. Agreed. I don't want to lose the moving truck. It arrives at 9, then we load before they get here. The heavy furniture will take longer. Then they can watch furniture leave. Do you want me to tell them not to come? Mom thought about it. No. Why? Because Denise has been speaking to each person separately. She believes she can keep changing the words depending on who is listening. A group meeting is exactly what she wants. Yes. You just said you did not invite them. I didn't. But if they arrive, I will answer once. I looked at the boxes lining the living room wall. That sounds like a confrontation. It sounds like Saturday. Do you want to delay the move? No. Do you want Beth here early? She is already coming at 8:30. Do you want me to let everyone inside? Mom picked up the apartment key. It is your house. What do you want? She looked at me. Let them in if they arrive before the truck is loaded. I do not want a scene in the street. And when you want them to leave, I will say so. And if they refuse, then you may repeat me. That was the first task she had given me that felt like more than lifting a box. I nodded. All right. Mom slipped the key back into the envelope. There is one more thing. What? The cedar chest. It is packed. I know. Denise thinks it should go to her. Do you want it to? No. Then it goes with you. She will say Dad promised it. Did he? He once told her she could have whatever was inside after I died. What is inside? Letters, photographs, your father's watch, some jewelry, the deed to the cemetery plots. Nothing magical. Do you want Denise to have any of it now? Not while she believes taking care of me gives her an early claim. Then why mention it? Mom touched the blue yarn tied to the small brass key. Because I gave her that idea years ago, and I never corrected it. Do you want to correct it tomorrow? I want to give her a choice. What kind? She can help me move the chest and accept that it remains mine, or she can keep treating every object as proof that someone loved one child more. That sounds generous. It may be foolish. Those can overlap, Mom smiled faintly. Your father used to say that about buying boats. He bought one boat. He discussed 12. We spent Friday afternoon packing the final boxes. Mom labeled each one herself. Bedroom books, kitchen daily, photos do not bend. The cedar chest remained against the wall beneath the dining room window. It was not large, but it was heavy, built from thick boards darkened by age. Dad had repaired the hinges twice. The blue yarn key stayed in Mom's purse. At 6, Beth arrived with sandwiches and confirmed she would return in the morning. She had heard from Laura, who planned to bring a tray of food and help everyone stay calm. Food has never done that in this family, Mom said. Tessa texted Beth that she was coming because she wanted to apologize to Grandma in person. Carl sent me a message, asking whether he could arrive early to help with the chest. Denise sent nothing. That worried me more than another argument would have. Saturday morning was clear and already warm by 8. Beth arrived with coffee. The moving truck came at 8:55. 2 young men named Marcus and Eli began carrying boxes to the curb, while Mom stood in the kitchen checking labels against her list. I moved the small round table into the hallway and removed the legs. At 9:20, Carl's pickup stopped behind the truck. He came alone. Denise? I asked. On her way? With who? I don't know. He looked toward Mom. Can I help? Mom pointed toward the cedar chest. That goes last. All right. Carl carried 3 boxes without speaking. At 9:38, Beth's phone buzzed. She read the screen and looked at me. Aunt Denise says nobody should enter until everyone arrives. Mom heard her. This is not her house. Beth typed something. What did you say? I asked. That we're already moving. Mom nodded. At 9:45, Laura's sedan pulled up with 2 foil-covered trays in the back. Tessa arrived behind her. They stayed near their cars, waiting. At 9:52, Denise's SUV turned onto the street. Another vehicle followed Cousin Mark and his wife, people I had not seen since Christmas. Denise parked across the end of my driveway, blocking the moving truck. She stepped out holding a thick folder against her chest. Carl stopped with a box in his arms. Mom came to stand beside me in the open doorway. Denise looked at the boxes, the truck, and the cedar chest visible through the living room window. Then she said, Nobody moves anything else until Mom hears what the family came to say. Denise stood at the end of my driveway with the folder pressed against her chest, while her SUV blocked the moving truck behind her. Laura and Mark waited near the curb. Tessa stayed beside her own car, looking as though she regretted getting out. Carl set down the box he was carrying. The 2 movers stood near the front walk and pretended to study the straps in their hands. Mom stepped onto the porch with her cane. Move your car, she said. Denise shook her head. So, not until everyone hears the same information. I have heard your information. Not all of it. Then say it from the street while the truck leaves. Denise looked at the cedar chest through the front window. Once everything is moved, Raymond controls what you can get back. Mom's voice stayed level. The apartment is mine. The apartment can be canceled. By me. You aren't considering what happens when something goes wrong. I moved down 1 step. Denise, move the SUV. She looked at me. Of course that's your answer. Clear the driveway and get the furniture out before anyone can question you. Mom signed the lease yesterday, under pressure. I wasn't there. You arranged everything around it. Mom arranged the appointment. Because you taught her what to say. Mom tapped her cane once against the porch. Come inside. Denise blinked. What? You wanted everyone to hear the same thing. Come inside, put your folder on the table, and say it once. She looked toward the relatives beside the curb. All of us? The people you invited. Mom turned to me. Let them in. I opened the door wider. Denise walked past me without meeting my eyes. Laura brought the foil trays. Mark and his wife followed. Tessa came last and whispered, I'm sorry, as she entered. Beth stood near the dining table beside the boxes, holding her coffee with both hands. Carl closed the door. Marcus and Eli waited outside with the moving truck. I told them to take 15 minutes. We're on hourly, Marcus said. I know. I did know. I had carried enough mail to moving companies to recognize the polite reminder. Everyone gathered in the living room, though no one sat at first. Half the room was empty. Mom's chair remained beside the lamp, but the small table had been dismantled, and pale rectangles marked the carpet where boxes had stood. The cedar chest rested beneath the dining room window. Denise placed her folder on the table Dad had made and opened it. Inside were printouts, handwritten pages, and a yellow legal pad filled with her tight blue writing. I spoke to people who care about Mom, she began. Which people? Mom asked. Family, a nurse I know from church, someone who manages senior housing. Their names. Why does that matter? Because you said people. Denise looked at Laura. Laura has concerns. Laura held both hands in front of her. I said living alone can be hard. Did you say I shouldn't move? Mom asked. No, not exactly. Mark? He shifted near the doorway. Denise said there was confusion about the lease. Did I tell you that? No. Tessa? Tessa looked at her mother before answering. I wanted to know you were safe. Did I tell you I was unsafe? No. Denise closed the folder halfway. This is not an interrogation. Mom looked at her. Then stop presenting witnesses. Carl sat on the arm of the couch. Beth lowered her cup to hide what might have been a smile. Denise took a page from the folder. Blue Ridge Commons does not provide nursing care. Their staff cannot administer medication. They have no overnight medical employee in the building. The pull cords only alert the front desk when someone is present. I know, Mom said. They explained it twice. And you still signed. Yes, Denise turned toward the others. She has blood pressure problems, hearing loss, arthritis, and trouble with stairs. The building has an elevator, Mom said. Elevators fail. So do daughters. Laura inhaled sharply. Denise stared at Mom. You think this is funny? No. Then why are you humiliating me? I asked you to move your car. Because Raymond wants his driveway back. Because my belongings are going to my apartment. Denise lifted another page. There are false statistics here. Put them away, Mom said. You should read them. I have lived 80 years without seeing your folder. And you have been lucky. Mom's fingers tightened around the top of her cane. You called the apartment office and spoke for me. You hid Raymond's cards. You changed the pharmacy contact without telling me. You told relatives I had moved before I agreed to move. Which page says that was luck? Denise's face reddened. I made mistakes. Name one. I should have given you the postcards sooner. Sooner? I should not have waited. You told me they did not exist. Because you were already frightened. You frightened me. Denise put both palms on the table. You were frightened before I said anything. You called me because Raymond sighed when you needed a ride. You called because he complained about missing Beth's dinner. You called because you knew you were wearing him down. The room went quiet. I felt every face turn toward me, though I kept looking at Mom. Her mouth tightened. I called my daughter because I was worried, she said. Yes. Denise's voice cracked. And I listened. I stayed on the phone for hours. I drove over when you couldn't sleep. I took you to see the apartment because you asked. Then you started talking about how much you liked it. And all I could think was that you would move there. Raymond would become the wonderful son who supported your independence, and I would be the daughter you called only when you were afraid. So you stopped the application. I slowed it down. You told them I had chosen your house. Because I thought you would be safer. That is not the reason you just gave. Denise looked around the room as if someone else might rescue the sentence. No one did. She touched the yellow pad. Both things can be true. Mom nodded. Yes, you were afraid for me, and you wanted to be chosen. Denise looked down. Is that a crime? No. Then why am I being treated like I stole something? You stole the answer before I gave it. Denise's eyes filled. I have spent my whole life waiting for answers everyone else already knew. Carl lowered his head. Tessa took one step toward her mother, but Denise did not notice. Dad knew Raymond would get the garage, she continued. He knew Raymond would handle the funeral. You knew you would move into Raymond's house after the flood. Everybody knew Raymond was the one who could be trusted. I always heard it after the decision was finished. The garage was attached to my house, I said. Denise turned on me. You see, there is always an explanation. Because there was a reason. There is always a reason you get the practical thing, the important thing, the thing that makes you necessary. I did not ask Mom to move in after the flood. The downstairs room was available. Your room was always available. Your car was always running. Your schedule was always flexible. Your answers were always ready. I almost told her those things came from planning, not favoritism. Then I remembered the initials under Dad's table. You were 7 when Dad carved your initials, I said. What does that have to do with anything? I didn't know they were there. Now you do. I sent you the photograph. A photograph of a table you kept. Do you want the table? No. Do you want Dad's watch? Mom asked. Denise looked at her. What? It is in the cedar chest. Do you want it? That is not what we are discussing. It is exactly what you think we are discussing. Mom reached into her pocket and brought out the small brass key with the blue yarn. You believe objects will tell you which child mattered. They won't. Denise looked at the key. Dad told me I could have what was inside. After I died. He said it was mine. He said, your mother will know what goes to whom. I was standing beside him. That is not how I remember it. Then your memory has been generous to you, Tessa whispered. Grandma. Mom looked at her. I'm not being cruel. I am being clear because soft words have been used badly in this family. She placed the key on the table between herself and Denise. The chest belongs to me. Raymond is moving it to my apartment. The watch will stay inside until I decide what to do with it. Denise stared at the key. So this meeting is about dividing things. No, it is about whether you can help me without owning the choice. Mom pointed toward the driveway. Move your car. Help Carl carry the chest. Come to my apartment tomorrow afternoon as my daughter. Do not bring forms. Do not call anyone for me. Do not ask for a key. Sit down, drink tea, and let me show you where I chose to live. The invitation hung in the room. Carl looked at Denise. Tessa did too. I knew enough not to speak. Denise picked up the blue yarn key and held it between 2 fingers. And if you fall tonight, I call for help. Who? Whoever I choose. Raymond, perhaps. Then nothing has changed. He still gets to be the first call. Mom's face softened with something close to sadness. This was never about being first. That is easy for the first person to say. Put the key down, I said. Denise closed her fingers around it. Why? So you can put the chest on your truck and decide what happens to it later? Mom stepped toward her. Give me my key. I'm trying to make you think. You are holding my property. It is a key. Mine. Denise looked at the faces around her. Does nobody see what he's doing? He has turned every question into a test I'm supposed to fail. I said, Mom gave you a choice designed by both of you. I designed nothing, Mom said. You can move the car and help, or you can leave. Denise's hand trembled around the key. I will move the car after you agree to a care plan. She pulled a stapled document from the folder and laid it on the table. Nothing extreme, weekly family check-ins, shared emergency access, a copy of the apartment key held by me or Tessa, medical contacts listed in writing, no overnight stays alone for the first month, transportation scheduled through family before outside services. Mom did not touch the pages. Who wrote this? I did. With whom? The nurse from church reviewed it. Did she meet me? She didn't need to. Then this is yours. It is responsible. It gives you a key. For emergencies. You use my emergency key to enter Raymond's house and pack my suitcase. Denise's mouth tightened. That was different. Yes, I had not given permission. You told me you wanted to leave. I told you I was considering an apartment. And then you became afraid. I was allowed to be afraid without surrendering the decision. Denise pushed the care plan toward her. At least read it. Mom lifted the pages, tore them once down the center, and placed the two halves back on the table. No one moved. Denise stared at the paper. You don't even know what you destroyed. A set of rules I did not ask for. You are being manipulated. By whom? Him. Denise pointed at me. He admits he wants his life back. I felt my throat tighten. The room waited. I do, I said. Mom turned toward me. Raymond, I want parts of it back. I looked at her rather than Denise. I want to take a trip without arranging every hour. I want to say I'm tired before I say something ugly. I want to be your son without being the answer to every practical problem. Mom's eyes shone, but she nodded. That is why I am moving. I know. Do you? I'm trying to. Denise gave a small, disbelieving laugh. And he still wins. What did I win? I asked. You get to say the honest thing now that everything is arranged around you again. You get an empty room, praise for supporting Mom, and no blame for wanting her gone. I did not want her gone. You wanted freedom. Yes. Same thing. No, it felt the same to her. I looked at Mom. Did it? She took a breath. Sometimes. I nodded because there was nothing useful to defend. Denise's expression changed as if she had expected me to fight harder. I should have told you sooner, I said to Mom. I should have asked what you wanted before I built my whole routine around keeping you here. I made being useful the only safe way I knew to love you. My voice sounded too formal in my ears, so I stopped and rubbed my palm against my trouser leg. I'm sorry. Mom looked down at the torn pages. I know. That doesn't fix it. No. But the apartment is still your choice. Yes. Denise shoved the folder closed. Wonderful. He admits everything, and somehow that proves he should still be trusted. Trust is not a trophy, Mom said. Raymond listened after he was wrong. For 2 weeks. Then you had 2 weeks to do the same. Denise's face folded briefly, hurt passing through before anger covered it. I will not help move you into a place where no one can reach you. People can reach me. Not without your permission. Mom held out her hand. My key. Denise looked at the blue yarn protruding from her fist. Put my name on the emergency list. No. Then put Tessa's. Tessa spoke before Mom could. Don't use me for this. Denise turned. I'm trying to make sure Grandma has someone. She has people. She needs someone reliable. She chose Uncle Raymond. Of course she did. Tessa's eyes filled. Mom, I came because you said Grandma was being pressured. She's been answering you all morning. You don't understand. I understand that she asked for her key. Denise stared at her daughter. You're embarrassing me. I'm asking you to give it back. You always take the easier side. There shouldn't be sides. There are always sides. Carl stood. Give June the key. Denise looked at him. You too. Yes. After everything you said at home, I said I was worried. I did not say you could stop the move. You said Raymond controlled everything. Sometimes he does. Carl looked at me. He admitted it. Then he turned back to Denise. That does not make what you did right. She pressed the key so tightly into her palm that the blue yarn disappeared. You're all acting as if I planned to hurt her. Mom's hand remained extended. Intentions do not return keys. Denise looked at the open front door, the boxes, and the relatives standing around her. Then she dropped the brass key onto the table. It struck the wood and spun twice before stopping near the torn care plan. Mom picked it up. Thank you. Denise lifted her chin. I am not moving the car until we agree on emergency access. Mom slipped the key into her pocket. Then you are not coming to my apartment tomorrow. You can't keep me away from you. I can decide who enters my home. For now. I walked toward the doorway. Denise stepped in front of me. Where are you going? To clear my driveway. You touch my car and I'll call the police. I'm not touching it. I went outside and took my phone from my pocket. The towing company's number was printed on a sign near the strip mall at the end of my street. They had moved abandoned vehicles for our neighborhood association before. I called, gave my address, and explained that a vehicle was blocking a hired moving truck on private property. The dispatcher asked whether I owned the property and whether I was authorizing removal. Yes, I said. Can the vehicle be placed on the street rather than taken to your lot? If there is legal parking available and the operator can do it safely, there is space across from the house, 20 to 30 minutes. Thank you. I ended the call. Denise had followed me onto the porch. You called a tow truck? I asked you to move the SUV. This is my mother's move. This is my driveway. You would tow your sister's car in front of the family? I'm authorizing them to place it on the street. Cancel it. Move it yourself and I will. She looked toward her vehicle. Not until Mom signs something, then it will be moved for you. I went into the garage and returned with a small cardboard box. Denise followed. What is that? A new deadbolt. Why? Because I do not know whether another copy of my key exists. I gave back the only one. You told Mom the postcards had not come. Her face changed. So now I am a thief. No. I am removing a question I do not need to keep asking. I carried the box into the living room. Mom watched me set it on the table. You decided to change the lock, she said. Yes. Because Denise blocked the truck? Because she entered once without my permission, packed your belongings, and has spent 3 weeks treating access as authority. I looked at her. This is my decision about my house. Mom nodded slowly. All right. Denise came through the doorway. You are doing this for an audience. I bought the lock last night. That was true. I had placed it in the garage and hoped I would return it unopened. You planned this. I prepared for the possibility that you would refuse to respect the boundary. Listen to yourself. I am. I removed the old deadbolt plate with a screwdriver. Denise stood 6 feet away, breathing hard. No one offered to help. The screws had been painted over twice, and the lower one resisted. I had to score the paint with a utility knife and turn the screwdriver with both hands. It was not dramatic. That helped. The room filled with a small scrape of metal and the sound of Marcus moving straps outside. When the old cylinder came free, I placed it beside the red-painted key Denise had returned earlier in the week. From now on, I said, you enter this house only when I invite you. You do not collect Mom's belongings, speak to service providers from my address, or use an emergency arrangement as permission to make a plan. If Mom asks you for help, that will happen between you and her. My house is no longer part of it. Denise looked at Mom. Are you letting him do this? Mom leaned on her cane. It is his door. I installed the new cylinder and tightened the screws. Then I tested the key twice from inside and once from the porch. It turned cleanly. I handed one copy to Beth. Keep this for emergencies involving me, I said, not Mom. Beth closed her fingers around it. Understood. I put the second copy on my own ring. There was no third. The tow truck arrived before I finished packing away the screwdriver. A broad-shouldered woman in a fluorescent vest came to the door with a clipboard. I showed her my identification and pointed to Denise's SUV. Place it across the street if you can, I said. Denise hurried outside. Do not touch my car. The operator looked at her. You can move it yourself. Denise folded her arms. I'm not moving until my mother is protected. The operator looked back at me. You still authorize relocation? Yes. I signed the form. Denise pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. You may, the operator said. They'll tell you not to block a private driveway. Denise called anyway. She gave the address and announced that her brother was trying to seize their mother's property. The dispatcher must have asked who owned the house because Denise looked at me and said, "He does, but that is not the issue." She listened, then said, "No, no one is threatening me." Another pause. "Fine." She ended the call. The tow operator lowered the wheel lift. Denise finally opened her purse and took out her keys. "Stop," she said. "I'll move it." The operator waited. Denise got into the SUV, started it, and pulled across the street. The moving truck was free. She parked hard against the curb, got out, and slammed the door. The tow operator handed me the unsigned cancellation line. "No charge if we leave now," she said. I thanked her. Denise watched the truck drive away. "You wanted me to look unreasonable," she said. "I wanted the driveway open." Same practical answer. "Yes." I turned to Marcus and Eli. "Keep loading." They carried the remaining boxes out. The relatives moved aside. Laura placed the foil trays on the kitchen counter and asked Mom whether she wanted help wrapping dishes. "They are already wrapped," Mom said. "Then I can carry something." Mom pointed to a box marked linens. Laura picked it up. Mark took another. His wife carried the lamp. The gathering Denise had brought to stop the move became extra hands without anyone deciding aloud that this was happening. Denise remained near the front walk. Tessa approached her. I could not hear the first words, but Denise shook her head. Tessa touched her arm. Denise pulled away. Carl picked up one end of the cedar chest and looked at me. "Ready?" he asked. Mom stepped between us. "Not yet." She turned to Denise, who stood with her sunglasses in one hand. "The offer is still open," Mom said. "Help us carry it. Come tomorrow without the folder." Denise looked at the chest. "And the watch? Remains mine? Until when?" "Until I decide." "You know Dad wanted me to have it." "Then trust that I remember my husband." "You remembered Raymond's initials were larger." I remembered both sets. Denise's lips trembled. "You always make me ask." Mom's face softened. "Then ask plainly." Denise looked at the floor. No one moved. After several seconds, she said, "I want Dad's watch." "Why?" "Because he wore it every day. That is why I kept it. Raymond has his tools. Some of them. Beth has Carol's jewelry," Beth said quietly. "Grandma gave me one ring." Denise turned toward Mom again. "I have nothing that proves I belonged." Mom's eyes filled. "You have spent your life asking objects to answer a question they cannot answer." "That sounds like no." "It means the watch is not the answer." "Then what is?" Mom took a breath. "I do not know how to give you 60 years back in one morning." Denise wiped her cheek. "You could start with the watch." "No." The word was gentle and complete. Denise laughed through her tears. "There it is. You may have the photograph album with your school pictures. You may have the porcelain bird your father bought in Nashville because you chose it. You may have his red toolbox after Raymond checks which tools belong to him. Those are things I'm ready to give. The leftovers. The things connected to you. The things you decided. Yes, my belongings. My decision." Denise looked at me. "And you are fine with that?" "I do not get a vote." "You always get a vote." "Not this time. You got the house. I bought the house with Carol." "You know what I mean." "I know what you feel. That does not make every claim true." She stared at me, and I could see the old argument rising again. Mom interrupted. "The chest goes now." Carl bent toward one end. I took the other. Denise did not move. We lifted. The cedar was heavier than I remembered. The bottom edge pressed into my fingers, and Carl's face reddened as we crossed the living room. Mom walked beside us with one hand hovering near the lid, not helping but guarding the route. At the porch step, Denise stood directly in front of us. "Please move," I said. She looked at Mom. "If this leaves, you will never bring it back." Mom answered, "That is the plan." "You really want to live there?" "Yes. Not with me. Not with Raymond either." Denise's face crumpled. For the first time, she seemed to hear that the choice was not between children. She stepped aside. Carl and I carried the chest down the walk. Marcus helped guide it onto the liftgate. When the gate rose, Mom watched without blinking. Denise stood behind her. The chest slid into the truck and disappeared between boxes labeled "Kitchen Daily" and "Photos Do Not Bend." The main thing Denise had tried to keep suspended inside my house was no longer there. Neither were Mom's clothes, medicine, papers, or keys. Nothing remained for my sister to collect on Mom's behalf. Nothing remained that required her to enter my home or supervise my decisions. Marcus closed the truck door and latched it. Mom signed the inventory sheet herself. Denise walked back into the living room and picked up her folder. The torn care plan remained on the table. She gathered the pieces and slipped them inside. "Are you coming tomorrow?" Mom asked. Denise did not answer. 3 o'clock, Mom said. "Tea, no forms." Denise looked at her. "I don't know." "Then call if you decide." "Will Raymond be there?" "No." I had not known that, but I kept quiet. "Beth?" Denise asked. "No." "Carl?" "You may bring your husband if he wants to come." Carl looked at Denise, then Mom. "I'd like to see the place." Denise closed the folder. "Of course you would." Tessa stepped closer. "Mom, I'll go with you." "I did not ask you." "I know, I'm offering." Denise looked at her daughter, and something in her expression loosened, though not enough to become gratitude. "We'll see." She walked to the door. At the threshold, she turned toward me. "You changed the lock like I was dangerous." "I changed it because permission needs to be clear." "You could have told me." "I told you not to enter or collect things." "You did it anyway." "Once." "Once was enough." She nodded slowly. "You finally got your empty house." Mom's face tightened. Before I could answer, she said, "Do not use my leaving to wound him." Denise looked at her. He admitted he wanted it. He admitted he needed room to be honest. I needed room to live. Both can be true without either of us being disposable. Denise lowered her eyes. 3 o'clock, Mom repeated. Denise stepped outside. Laura and Mark said quiet goodbyes and followed. Tessa hugged Mom carefully, promised to call, and then went after her mother. Carl remained. He helped the movers secure the last items, then carried the small round table legs to his pickup because there was no room left in the truck cab. "I'll meet you there," he said. Mom looked toward Denise's SUV. "Are you riding with her?" "I don't know. You should decide before she decides for you." Carl gave a tired smile. "That seems to be the message of the week." "Do not turn it into a slogan," Mom said. "It will lose its usefulness." He laughed and went to his truck. Beth drove Mom to Blue Ridge Commons so I could follow the moving van. Before getting into Beth's car, Mom stood in my front hallway and looked toward the bedroom she had used for 4 years. The door was open. Only the bed remained because she had decided to buy a smaller one. A rectangle of cleaner paint marked the wall where her photograph had hung. "Do you want the house key back?" she asked. The red ring rested in her palm. "Do you want to keep it?" "I don't live here." "You're still welcome here." That was not the question. I thought about the night she asked whether she had a key and we found it left on the dresser. "Keep it," I said. "Why?" "Because you may want to come in when I'm not home." That sounds like permission. It is. And if I use it without calling, then I will be annoyed. Good. She closed her fingers around the ring and put it in her purse. "Do not turn my room into storage immediately." "How long is immediately?" "A month." "That is unreasonable." 2 weeks. "Agreed." She smiled. "You bargain like your father." "You keep saying that as a threat." She touched my sleeve, then walked outside with Beth. The apartment was hotter than expected because the air conditioning had been set too high. Marcus and Eli carried furniture while Mom directed every placement. She put the bed on the wall she had chosen, leaving the closet clear. The cedar chest went beneath the bedroom window. The round table fit beside the kitchen with enough room for 2 chairs. I tried to move it 3 inches away from the wall. Mom moved it back. "The outlet," I said. "The lamp cord reaches." "It bends sharply. The cord is not in distress." I left it. Carl arrived with the table legs and stayed long enough to assemble them. He asked Mom whether Denise had called. She had not. At 4:30, the movers left. Beth unpacked towels. Carl hung the shower curtain. I connected the television and then disconnected it when Mom said she wanted the chair facing the courtyard instead. By 6, the apartment looked partly lived in and partly like a furniture store after closing. Boxes lined one wall. The refrigerator held milk, eggs, bread, and the dry casserole Mom had insisted on bringing. "You should stay with Dad tonight," Beth said. Mom shook her head. "This is my first night." "The front desk closes at 8, I said. "I know." "The pull cords work." "We tested them." "Your phone is charged?" She held it up. 92%. "Your medicine?" "Top kitchen cabinet, lower shelf." "The bath mat," Raymond. I stopped. Offer once, she said. Do you want me to stay until bedtime? No. Do you want Beth? No. Do you want us to call at 9? No. Do you want anything? Mom looked around the room. Take the empty boxes. I flattened 6 and carried them to the truck. When I returned, Carl had left. Beth hugged Mom and whispered something that made her smile. Then Beth went to the hallway. I stood near the door. Call if you need me, I said. That is one offer. Good. I'll call tomorrow after breakfast. That is a plan. Also good. I looked toward the chair facing the courtyard. The light outside had softened, and the garden beds below were dark squares against the grass. How does it feel? I asked. Mom glanced at the closed bedroom door, the kitchen, and the apartment key on the table. Quiet. Good quiet? I don't know yet. Fair. She walked me to the door. I waited for her to close it before going to the elevator. The latch clicked behind me. For the first time in 4 years, I drove home knowing Mom was alone because she had chosen to be. The feeling was not relief or fear. It was both, taking turns. Denise did not visit the next afternoon. Carl came alone at 3 with a potted basil plant. He stayed 40 minutes and called Denise from the parking lot before driving home. Tessa visited later that week. She brought no papers and asked before opening a kitchen cabinet. Denise waited 11 days. She called Mom twice during that time, and both conversations ended badly. The first ended when she asked for an apartment key. The second ended when she suggested Mom place a camera in the living room so the family could check on her. On the 11th day, she arrived carrying a small bakery box and Dad's red toolbox, which she had taken from her garage after Mom reminded her it was still there. Mom told me about the visit that evening. Did she apologize? I asked. Partly. What does that mean? She said she was sorry the postcards became such a large issue. That is not an apology. I told her. What did she say? She said she was sorry she kept them. Better. Then she explained why for 20 minutes. Worse, Mom laughed. We drank tea. Did she ask for the watch? Yes. What did you say? No. Did she leave? Not immediately. That is progress. Very small progress. Blue Ridge Commons became ordinary more quickly than I expected. Mom learned which elevator was slow, which washing machine shook, and which neighbor borrowed sugar without returning it. She joined the Tuesday card group and quit after 3 weeks because one man argued about the rules. She used the city bus twice and the building shuttle 4 times. She called me for rides when the appointments were early or the weather was bad. Sometimes I said yes. Once I said no because I had promised Beth I would help her paint a bedroom. Mom arranged a ride with Gloria and did not punish me for it. I spent that whole morning expecting the phone to ring. It did not. The pharmacy restored Mom's number as the primary contact and listed mine only for emergencies at her request. Denise's number was removed. Blue Ridge Commons placed a sealed spare key in its office. No family member received one. Mom wrote those choices down herself and kept the page in the green address book. By late summer, the family group had become mostly birthday photographs and weather complaints. Denise stopped posting updates about Mom after Mom corrected her 3 times in public and then called her privately to say she would leave the group if it happened again. Denise never regained the position she had created for herself. She remained Mom's daughter, visited every few weeks, and occasionally drove her to lunch. She did not call the pharmacy, speak to the apartment office, hold a key, or direct questions through herself. When she slipped and said, "We decided," Mom would ask, "Who is we?" Denise learned to answer. I suggested. Some visits ended early. Some went well enough that Mom called me afterward, only to report what they ate. Carl came more often than Denise did. He and I did not become close, but he stopped agreeing in private and disappearing in public. At Thanksgiving, he told Denise in front of everyone that Mom had already answered a question about Christmas. Denise became angry, then quiet. She did not ask again. Tessa helped Mom choose curtains for the apartment and listened when Mom rejected the first 3 patterns. Laura's petition for a shaded bus bench collected 47 signatures. The city installed one in October. Mom sent me a photograph of herself sitting on it with the message, "Your sister says the angle is wrong." I replied, "Is the bench safe?" Mom wrote, "Offer once." The empty room in my house remained untouched for 2 weeks, exactly as promised. On the 15th day, I stood in the doorway with a box of old mail route maps and could not bring myself to set it inside. I moved the box back to the garage. A month later, Beth helped me paint the room a warm gray. We turned it into a small guest room with a desk by the window. Mom chose the lamp but refused to call the room hers. "Guests leave," she said. "That is the point." I took a trip to Asheville in September with an old friend from the post office. Before leaving, I gave Beth my itinerary and told Mom I would call once, not every day. She said once was enough. On the second night, I reached for my phone after dinner and stopped. 10 minutes later, Mom called me. "The mountain air must be good," she said. "How do you know?" "You sound less irritated." "That may be the pie." "Did you mail a postcard?" "Yes." "Good. Send it directly to me." When I returned, the postcard was standing on her round table at Blue Ridge Commons. Denise had seen it during a visit and said nothing. That may have been the closest she came to apologizing without explaining herself. Mom spent Christmas Eve at my house and Christmas morning in her apartment because she wanted to host brunch. Denise brought cinnamon rolls. She asked before placing them in the oven. Dad's watch remained in the cedar chest. In January, Mom gave Denise the porcelain bird from Nashville and the photograph album filled with her school pictures. Denise cried when she opened the album. She did not ask for the watch that day. I do not know whether she stopped wanting it or merely learned not to make every visit pay the same old debt. Some things remained unsettled. Denise and I spoke politely at family gatherings and rarely otherwise. She still believed I had been chosen first too many times. I still believe she used that pain to excuse choices that frightened our mother. Neither belief canceled the other. Mom stopped trying to make us close. That may have been one more freedom, she claimed. By the following spring, she had lived at Blue Ridge Commons for 10 months. She had fallen once, though not in the apartment. She tripped over a parking stop outside the grocery store and bruised her knee. A stranger helped her up. She called the front desk, then called me. Denise learned about it later and said, "This is what I warned you about." Mom answered, "I also warned myself about stairs. People still use them." The bruise healed. The apartment remained hers. One Tuesday morning, I drove over with a bag of oranges and found Mom at the table sorting postcards into a small wooden box. Mine were there, along with cards from Beth, Tessa, Gloria, and even Denise, who had gone to Williamsburg with Carl. "You kept all of them," I said. "They came to me." She placed Denise's card beside mine. "Do you want tea? I can make it." I asked whether you wanted it. "Yes." She filled the kettle and opened the cabinet. Her favorite mug was not there. "Where's the white one with the green rim?" I asked. "At your house." "Why?" "I left it Christmas Eve." "That was 3 months ago." "Then you have been holding my property." "I'll return it." "No hurry." We drank from 2 mismatched cups and watched a maintenance worker adjust the courtyard gate. When I left, Mom gave me a grocery list with 4 items and enough cash to cover them exactly. She had written no substitutions beside the tea. At home, I found the white mug behind the larger coffee cups where I had put it after Christmas. I washed it, dried the green rim with my thumb, and set it upside down beside her empty chair.